Hello, everyone. It is Friday, the 10th of July, 2026, and I did finally get through most of the day four preliminary trials for Tyler Robinson. A lot of chats back and forth with multiple people, including avid hunters, special forces operator types, you name it. Talked to a bunch of people, shared some information that was given, and then my conclusions on what type of ammunition I believe was used, etc. And I also posted on Instagram. And so, disclaimer up front: I do think Tyler Robinson is the one who fired the shot. I do think that we also need to investigate again who he was communicating with, what networks he was operating in, etc. And that was shut down very early on, even by Cash Patel, and this is confirmed um, again, even by like Alex Jones and others as well. People that were whistleblowers that reached out to certain podcasters and influencers and let them know that that was the case. And very, again, suspicious, right? And so just because you have someone that fired the shot does not mean that there's not a conspiracy here, right? And so I've said that since the beginning. Take a look at my videos. But so Discord, excuse me, Discord chats that were had, we were given names, but again, we were only given like one name, not a full name, and it was Discord users' usernames, so not even real names, right? And again, also other people he was communicating with, especially in the months leading up to the murder. I do think that people should be on the stand as what, like I think they should be at the minimum interrogated, and I'm going to stick with that too, right? Because there is the possibility of foreign influence, interference, and again, funding being provided to these networks and these communities, these radicalized communities that Tyler Robinson was clearly operating within. And we have APAC and USAID and NGOs and nonprofits and et cetera, groups that do fund, again, the division within the West and other areas, intentionally speaking. And again, this further radicalizes people. And there are sometimes plants and instigators and agitators and even int assets that are part of these groups, these networks, right? And I've said before that when people start talking about crazy things, like they're like red flags should be going on in your head, right? And like and again, get more information on this person and take notes and stuff. So even in Canada with the Toronto 18, just for another example, the field officer that was working that case, again, this guy was like not, I don't think he was fully Canadian. I say fully Canadian, and he had addiction problems. And again, this guy, if you look at his record, again, this guy again is not someone I would think that would be a reliable source, and he was getting a lot of money again to drug and to brainwash, etc., and radicalize young teenagers. And even they have spoken out as well with that, gag orders, all of these things. And so yeah, when you push people to the limits and radicalize them and you're someone working in the government, that's literally not your job. And that's why I was saying, even with the Coots cases where there were RCMP honeypots that were even lying under oath, again, even just like January 6th, we have Capitol Police lying under oath, and we have the names of these people and the proof that they did this. And this is what got people in jail, right? So Freedom Convoy, same thing, you name it. And it goes on and on. So even with 9/11, I mentioned that as well, but with Securicom, the employees that were working on the trade towers in the months leading up to September 11th, 2001, it was even confirmed months afterwards by the CEO, not Bush's brother, Marvin Bush, but who was also, again, head of Securicom, etc. And then you've got a Rothschild. There's so many connections, by the way, with companies like the Zim Israel company that had stopped the lease early, many years early. But yeah, these people were not contacted at all. And so even months after 9/11, no one from Securicom, from the people that were working within the towers in the months leading up to it, were ever contacted. Oh my goodness. Why? It's because people lie to us, politicians, media, etc. And it throws people off, right? So they were even looking at, again, weapons of mass destruction, when the majority of the hijackers that they talked about, like I think it was like 15, were from Saudi Arabia. And then we allowed people, again, to go back to Saudi Arabia, etc., and with intelligence assets assisting with that. And yeah, so do I think that Tyler Robinson acted alone? No, I don't. But I do think he fired the shot, and there's overwhelming evidence, and that again also doesn't help, right? Because people are denying that, And I think that's a really big point too, right? There's just irrefutable evidence. When you're denying that, then it makes you lose credibility when you're looking at and questioning everything else, right? So if you're saying it's a mic explosion, et cetera, and I mean that respectfully, especially if you're an expert, I would expect that people that again don't have a lot of experience with firearms or firearms training, etc., that they or explosions and haven't been to war, haven't been part of a TAC team with law enforcement, etc. They wouldn't have that knowledge or that experience to assess. But I have done it. I've done the frame by frames. I've looked at so much information. So have other people, and we're getting again discredited by people who are actually not experts, and it's unfortunate and it's surprising to me as well. And I don't know who had said this, but I also heard someone saying that within a week of the assassination, someone had saw or heard the footage, the horrific clip of Charlie Kirk getting assassinated, and the guy just by hearing it, he said 30-06. And anyways, and that to me is an expert, a rifle, and credible. So when you have that guy that again he was saying that he killed Osama bin Laden, etc., and he's coming up with these crazy weird assessments that literally made him lose credibility. So now it's like, well, actually, how much experience and knowledge do you actually have with firearms? And actually hunting or even again firing at people if you're saying that this didn't happen right the way it should have in your assessment, and other people as well going on redacted as well. And I get why these people get platformed, because again it's stuff that they have done in their past or things that they're alleging they are, right? They're saying they're experts, etc. And when you're getting them on and again they're completely taking people off the mark, I'm like, well, are you doing this on purpose, or and are you controlled opposition? Because again, even with the Osama bin Laden CIA issues that we have, again, I already don't trust this guy. Anyway, so people are showing their cards yet again, just like through COVID and beyond, and Ukraine-Russia war. People are just showing their cards how uninformed they actually are, and that's another reason why I started doing these. And yeah, and I get a lot of hate on too, especially with my live feeds on Instagram. Okay, so here I'm going to go over some international news before I get into. I'm going to show a Tim Pool podcast. I rarely have done that, and I haven't watched it in its entirety. I've watched like maybe 10 minutes of it, but I want to watch it with you guys because I want to see what he has to say regarding everything, the drama, the conspiracies, the controversy regarding Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens and this and that, and like what he thinks about the ballistics, all of these things. I genuinely want to see what he has to say. And but before I do that, I'm going to give my report and my assessment, and then I'm going to read some stuff from here. So very important information coming out of Canada. Excuse me, breaking. It looks like Canada boycotted U.S. trade hearings. Yet again, Canada sent no one to Washington hearings to defend itself against Section 301 tariffs for using slave labor. Peru did, Mexico did, Chile did, Guyana did. Everyone else sent their senior ministers, and we had no one in attendance. So they're saying here, Section 301 investigations of acts, policies, and practices of various economies related to the failure to impose and effectively enforce a prohibition on the importance of goods produced with forced labor. Public hearing to be held at the U.S. International Trade Commission, 500 East Street, Southwest, Washington, D.C., 20436. Anyways, so that was on Tuesday, a few days ago now. Okay, so then it gives the names of the people. Embassy of the Republic of Chile. You've got the Ministry of Production, Foreign Trade and Investment of the Republic of Ecuador. You've got Government of Guatemala, Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Presidential Office of Foreign Trade, Honduras, Ministry of Economy, Mexico, Ministry of Foreign Trade and Tourism, Peru, and anyways, goes down from there, but very interesting. That we'll have our cabinet and their representatives jet set all around the friggin' world, really far away in cases as well, but you can't go to Washington and do your friggin' job? Okay. Your actual job? Going to Saudi Arabia and all these things must be nice. And what is the bill on that for Canadian taxpayers who are struggling to get by? Okay. All right, so Danielle Smith, she's very controversial with her announcement of that mega data center with with Meta. I like can't even make this shit up. And so I made a comment and I said, check out the impact of data centers in America on natural resources, wildlife, trees, water, communities losing water pressure, increase in illnesses, huge lakes and rivers drying up, droughts, never recorded in history, and of course, forcing people away at huge loss because no one will buy the homes around these centers after people are forced out. Meta owners are corrupt. Sorry to be so direct, but we risk massive surveillance overreach, CBDCs, etc. This will not benefit Canadians. This will cost us. This will actually cost us. They're talking about all the money they're going to make and stuff like that. This is going to cost us in less than 5 years of being built. Screenshot this comment. Evan Silliman, Carney, Ford types, I'm talking about Doug Ford, are the ones who profit with their foreign investors and their friends and family who get kickbacks as well. So this is just my interpretation, my recommendation would be to focus on energy, LNG, oil, nuclear, look into scientific innovations, do that more, right? Because we are pseudoscientific now in Canada. Mines, agriculture, defense, more people in rural areas, etc. Like, why are they focused on data centers for Alberta? Like, this is absolutely ridiculous, and it's going to be a shit show. Unbelievable. And most of the comments, by the way, that are made on any platform is that people don't want this, right? So this is absolutely something that's not democratic or whatever you want to call it. And so as a conservative, well, not as a conservative, I don't really identify with parties, but I would vote for the Conservatives at this point beyond or before any other party. I was even considering Bloc at one point, right? And I have voted for PPC before in 2021, so I'm open to changing my my vote. But right now it sticks with Pierre, not the Air No Tools. Okay, so why is this doing this? Okay. Yeah, so data centers not a good idea, especially for Alberta. Like, what are you doing? Like, you've got so many other things you can worry about or focus on. Okay, so this is from Mario for the North. Corey Taniki, or whatever, however you say his name, lost for Carolyn Elliott. I've done a bunch of videos on that. I've emailed Pierre and stuff like that as well. I'm like, you're being sabotaged from within. Like, whoever your team is that's like helping you, they're not helping you. And that was even like maybe even three years ago and stuff like that when I was saying that. And I have mentioned this guy as well. And Doug Ford, again, like, not a real conservative. He's a grifter, and people will vote for him even if they're not conservative, just again because like he's like the money, where the money is, right, and what he's actually pushing, which is very radical leftist. So when we talk about radical leftists, this includes NDP largely, people from the Bloc, definitely liberals, not just the Liberal Party, but like NDP. Again, a lot of leftist radicals, and yeah, and they are in every aspect of our country: academia, media, politicians, etc., experts. And it doesn't surprise me that this is being addressed. I'm glad that Mario is, because again, this sabotage from within by jealous assholes that again are in on the grift and don't want the money train to end. They're the ones that are doing this. I can't believe people voted for Doug Ford. I can't even believe they did in the last election, the by-election.
This morning I was debating whether or not to make this video, but after seeing what was done to Pierre in mainstream media, I have no other choice but to give you a full picture of what the mainstream media will not tell you. Give me a second because it's going to get good. Before I go into detail, I need to say that in this regard, I'm actually completely impartial and neutral, and you're going to see why in a second. During the BC leadership campaign race, I backed Carolyn Elliott, who I'm a huge fan of and I consider a friend. It came at a cost to me, and I never backed down. I continued to endorse her. And when you look at the spread of what I had to gain versus what I had to lose, I am by far the biggest loser. And here's why. No one pays me. I accept no money. I don't monetize relationships, nor do I need an elected official in government so I can earn a living. So if Caroline won, I would receive nothing in terms of compensation. My compensation would be helping the fine people of BC get rid of the NDP. Now, if she lost, which she did, and it did happen, I have a lot to lose. And I lost a lot of avid followers and respect because I backed her. I made a choice and it came at a cost. So I'm going to repeat this again. I'm the biggest loser out of this deal because of my spread of what I had to gain, which was nothing, versus what I had to lose, which in this case was my base. The reason I'm telling you this is because Pierre made a comment at a completely random event at the Stampede that was never televised anywhere except for CPAC. You probably don't even know what that is. And he said he wanted to welcome the next premier of BC
I hope you know what
who
CPAC is.
defeated lobbyists from out east. That statement was accurate, and it was in reference to Corey Tonight, Doug Ford's campaign manager, who attacked Pierre during the last election and continues to attack Pierre on mainstream media. Carolyn took a nice break. She unplugged for a few days, came back, made a video speaking out against Pierre's comment that he made about Corey. She understood it as an attack on her campaign, and called for unity. Now, instead of holding Mark Carney accountable for failing to negotiate for failing to negotiate a win with the US, this is what the news feed in Canada looks like today. They took the video that she made on social media and wrote this piece called BC Conservative Leadership Candidate Tells Poilievre It's Time to Unite, Not Divide After Lobbyist Remarks. Poilievre faces renewed scrutiny over party management after clash with BC Conservative. Now, people love Caroline. I do. I think she's incredible. But again, as a neutral party who admires both people, I took zero offense to Pierre's comments, even though I was on the losing side, potentially the biggest loser out of the spread that I explained to you. So his comments, they were in fact true. The consistent feedback I got from my followers was that they initially backed Caroline because I did. I supported her. People trust my judgment. I put her on people's radars, and I would estimate that the views that I got because of me endorsing her were in the multiple millions, probably approaching 10 million. But in the end, the consistent feedback I got was she lost because they didn't want Doug Ford style politics in BC because of Corey. And again, this has nothing to do with Caroline. Hard right conservatives like her, people who are more far right than I ever will be. But I truly do believe that Corey was the one that lost the election for her. It has nothing and no reflection on her whatsoever. Do you guys remember when Corey said this? He accused Pierre Poilievre's camp of campaign malpractice. Now, here's what I think. I think Corey's confidence grew with Doug Ford and the victories he had
Yeah.
with Doug. And he
And
thinks,
that wasn't even a victory with Doug Ford. Again, this was them piggybacking on the popularity of Pierre Poilievre, who was doing really well in the polls at the time, like the best yet. And at that time, during Doug Ford's by-election, and again, even with that, like I think there's just so much corruption and slimy shit happening even with that, and backdoor deals and stuff like that. And anyway, but yeah, he had his by-election at the height of popularity, and so that had nothing to do with him or Corey. This had absolutely 100% everything to do with Pierre Poilievre. All right, and this is someone again who didn't even vote conservative in 2021 because of people like Aaron the Tool, right? Basically, and again, another liberal like Doug Ford, right? And they operate in the same communities, right? The same communities as like the mayor, whatever her name is, and radicals and grifters. But Pierre consistently, again, has had like the same messaging, the same platform, etc., and it works superior for Canadians, our sovereignty, our economy, our so many different things. All right, and so if anyone wants to say that Carney would be a better option, or any leader from the NDP or Elizabeth May and stuff like that, you're out of your mind, and you have not done your research. You're just looking at mainstream media, state-funded media, and the politicians and these NGOs and these nonprofits and these shell companies again that are getting funded by the libtards in our government, and they are again radical lying to people straight up. And again, I'm saying even the Canadian Anti-Hate Network, whatever people think this is some kind of a non-biased or unbiased group organization funded by our government, and 99% of what they share is them lying about, and again, they're painting a picture of far right radicalism, and domestic threats, etc., on the far right, targeting and talking about Christians, people that have traditional values, excuse me, people that are having families, all of these different things, talking about like the family dynamic being important, talking about protecting children from irreversible medical experiments, right? What I like to call conversion therapy, because that's exactly what it's called, etc. And so when people are talking about actual facts and they're getting classified as domestic terror threats, and then also on the list too high up they say veterans, which is disgusting, right? And again, because usually speaking, we're like the more traditional conservative, etc. types of service, etc., thinking beyond ourselves, like less narcissism, etc., than liberals, historically speaking. That might be changing now because, again, for over 10 years, like there's been so much brainwashing and propaganda and psyops going on, even more so than the past few decades, which is shocking. And people are believing it. And again, this is like even friends and family, etc. Right? So like no area, no corner has been left untarnished by these steering committees. You know, the heads of WEF and Davos and the Bilderberg types, etc. They do have owners as well, but they're like the puppets that are causing, again, the destruction and the policies and the rules and the scripts, etc. that they're forcing us to live with.
Himself a king maker. Keep in mind, he has a lot of experience, and he's the one that was in charge of Caroline's campaign. She's new to politics.
Okay,
He
so
helped her.
enough about
This
him.
morning I was debating.
I'm glad Mario's talking about him.
Mr. Gunn?
Okay, so here again, liberals caught stalling Aaron Gunn's condo bailout probe. Again, a tactic that even the defense is using on the preliminary hearings for Tyler Robinson. Again, stalling tactics, delay, etc., or belabor points that don't need to be belabored, just for optics.
Mr. Gunn?
Perfect. Thank you, Chair.
Start at the top.
We'll start at the top again. I'd like to move this motion that given that Prime Minister Mark Carney recently announced a plan to bail out developers, bankers, and investors by using taxpayer dollars to purchase more than 2,200 unsold condominium units in British Columbia. B, this bailout will not make housing more affordable, but will prevent a price correction from taking place, preserving high prices for developers rather than lowering them for British Columbians trying to enter the housing market. C, questions remain about which ministers were lobbied and by whom. D, questions remain about which developers and lenders will benefit from this bailout, which condo units will be eligible, how prices will be determined, which financing tools will be used, and which entity or entities will ultimately own the units. E, forcing home buyers to compete with their own tax dollars while raising housing prices for the benefit of developers is not in the interest of Canadians. And F, Prime Minister Mark Carney is building an economy of bailouts and handouts to Liberal insiders while creating higher costs, debt, and taxes for everyone else.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Chager.
I don't know about anybody else, but my translation's not working.
Okay, we'll make sure that your audio is working. Is the audio working? Okay, I know what you're doing here. I know what you're doing to disrupt the meeting, and that's fine. You can continue it because people are watching. Go ahead, Mr. Gunn. Start with the next paragraph. Get your motion on notice. Put it on the floor, and then we'll continue with debate after that.
I freaking loved her getting called out by that too, by John Brassard. Like, I know what you're doing, Chair President. And so Liberal MPs actively obstructed today's emergency ethics committee meeting. An ethics committee meeting. How ethical, Liberals? You're so tolerant. Anyways, right from the start, they hit Conservative MP Aaron Gunn, who at this point I friggin' really like, right? Okay, so I'm Team Aaron Gunn here with points of order, and I would love to talk to him. Oh my goodness. Demands for a speaker list and claims of audio issues, all before he could properly table his motion, calling for a full study into the controversial condo bailout. The motion was eventually allowed to be tabled. However, it was subsequently voted down 5-4. Who are the 5 people that voted that down? And do they have real estate? Do they have assets? Is that a conflict of interest, right? Because a lot of people within cabinet are landlords, etc., right? And so even with Mark Carney, when he was the head of the Bank of Canada, He was bailing out massively, again, these condo kings and people in the real estate industry. I literally for years I've been saying this. Real estate is our biggest money grab at this point, and it's not going towards Canadians. We are the ones that are giving our money, right, to these people, like these already rich, entitled assholes. And I mean that respectfully. And a lot of people, again, not even Canadian, because again, even with China and Saudi Arabia and Iran, even and stuff like that, these like rich people, again, are buying up like luxury condos, all of these things, hotels, motels. Like even Minto and Mattamy, right? Like there's monopolies with real estate companies, and they are, again, not helping Canadians at all. They have inflated the market. They're all getting bailed out and making a lot of money on this. Where us, okay, like if the market goes down, anyone bought at these inflated prices, especially in 2022, 2023, early on 2023, we're going to be losing money on our homes. Is the government going to be bailing us out? No, that's up to us to bail ourselves out, but to incur those losses. Okay, and so welcome to the club. And these owners, these real estate crime rings, again, they just make even more money. There's never any risk of them actually losing anything. And so to me, this is a huge issue. And with the Brookfield connection and stuff like that as well, it is such a scam. And so for people that said that Carney, again, was like so amazing, the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England, actually look at what happened with that. And it's not something that happens immediately. Sometimes it takes a couple of years in order for the damage, again, to be demonstrated, societally speaking. And he wants the New World Order. He wants to involve Europe, again, with like the EU and WEF. He's not talking about Europeans. Look what they're doing to European countries right now with all these policies and these censorship bills. Everything that they've been doing has been destroying Europe at an accelerated rate, especially in the last 5 years. And Canada, again, we're following suit. And yeah, and it's because of grifters like Carney, not even a Canadian, right? A 3 passport holding hooer, like Viva Fry likes to say. And he's never really even in Canada, right? And he also has the worst record now for attendance for meetings in Parliament. Ridiculous. And he has a shitty book on values and stuff like that. That again, it's a Marxist book, and again, it's to take rights away from Canadian citizens. And he thinks that we are shitty human beings because he's projecting on us his own life. And he needs to find God. And he's not, and he's a fake Christian. You know, we talk about these other people that are fake Christians in the US, etc. He's another one of those. He's grifting. He's a liar. Just like these fake Christians, were in Europe, right? Under Adolf Hitler, under his direction, right? Like go to these other churches in Europe and lie and exploit. And anyone that gives you confessions, etc., you give them back to me if it's important enough. And when you're talking to people, doing your sermons, etc., brainwash. And and Jesus spoke against that in the Bible, by the way. And so Carney is most definitely anti-Christian.
And as the president,
because even in the Old Testament under Moses, $5 of Zelophehad, again, with the whole property rights thing, Carney doesn't want Canadians to actually have property rights. And neither did Trudeau, by the way. So again, even with Trudeau, people are getting him off the hook. This guy should be in jail. Or he needs to have his passport, his Canadian citizenship revoked, right? Because of what he's done to Canada and his father, by the way. His father started Trudeau, pretty much finished it, and then he just set the conditions and paved the way again for Carney to come in and just collapse us. And that sounds dramatic. Yeah. Sounds controversial and conspiratorial. Yep, totally get that, right? And you wouldn't expect that to come out of the mouth of someone, again, with like my resume, but this is where we are at, because it's just the truth. And I can't just sit by and not at least attempt to get this information out to people that might be able to do something about this, right? So if we have people within the Canadian legal side or something like that, justice, etc., like we need to start investigations like immediately, like 10 years ago, like 5 years ago, etc. And we need to call things out, right? Even with Doug Ford, like he is a literal criminal, and financial crimes alone. And okay, so this is Carney saying that Canada will be part of Europe.
and as
like the path, the trajectory that Europe is on. Like, and do you want that as a Canadian? And he doesn't know, because he lives in gated communities, like all this wealth, etc. And so he's not someone that you're going to find in rural Canada or rural US, etc., or even in like suburbs at this point by any means. Like he's in cottage country area with like Doug Ford, etc. And again, they're government employees. especially Doug Ford. How, right? How are your companies and all these things doing so well? And it's government that's the ones that are making you guys rich as well. Again, so many conflicts of interest, I can't even believe it.
The President mentioned a few weeks ago at the European Political Community in Yerevan. I was honored to attend, and I said at that meeting that I believe that the next world order will likely be built out of Europe, and Canada will be part of that effort. In security, as the first non-European member to join SAFE, as the President mentioned, under his leadership, Canada is a key member of the coalition of willing to support Ukraine in critical minerals, working with Minister Lescure as a reliable supplier.
And your family friend and Chrystia Freeland, who is there again assisting again with covering up all the financial crimes you've committed and all the lies and deceit again with what you guys have said has happened in Ukraine and Russia. Yeah, I mean, it's just obvious. It's just obvious. And the money's not going to go where you think it is, and it's not going to go to help Ukraine or anything like that. It's going to go again a lot to the military, pharmaceutical, industrial tech complex. Okay, and people who have shares and stocks in those companies, and then a lot to radical left initiatives, woke DEI, ESG, climate, blah blah blah, funding. So how much of the population will that actually impact? Historically speaking, you're looking at less than 1%. In some cases.
European partners.
So let me get this straight. Mark Carney stands in front of Canadians and tells us that we are going to be part of the New World Order? Not a vote, not a consultation, just a declaration, and somehow we're supposed to sit here and pretend that that's normal? Since when did the future of Canada become something announced to us instead of decided by us? This country was built by people who crossed oceans, built businesses, and fought wars so Canadians could govern themselves. Yep. Now we are being told that our future belongs in some sort of new international order? Who asked for this? Who voted for that shit? Because I don't remember seeing that on my ballot, and maybe that is the problem. The people running this country keep acting like Canadians are spectators instead of owners, and I have a crazy idea. Canada's future gets decided in Canada, not in Brussels, not in Ireland, not at international conferences, and not by politicians making an announcement on our behalf. The people should always have the final say, and that is not radical. That's called democracy. And if you believe Canadians should decide Canada's future, follow me, because somebody has to keep asking the questions that they don't want answered.
And as the President mentioned,
yeah, so it's not the far right that's the biggest issue in Canada. It's the far left, the Carney types. Okay, so here's just me giving some images of the rifle round that was retrieved from the crime scene. And I'll share some more images. Better images, because again, that's just a screen grab. Okay. All right. Okay, and so I just maybe want to give like a little bit of a disclosure that I don't even know where to start with this. There are people that are coming up with conspiracy theories, and I'm going to say, like, I don't blame them, that they have never been like involved in the types of work or careers where there's like a lot of usage of firearms of multiple different calibers, et cetera, and what you have to do with them. And so there's no fault on people for that again aren't experts. Where there are issues that are for people who actually are experts, again, that are saying that it was Full Metal Jacket, et cetera, talking about the exit wound and blah, 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 or there not being one. And there's so many other controversies. But again, this is one of the rounds that was found in location with the Mauser 98 that was wrapped in a black towel. And anyway, and so it's clear here, I don't know if you can see the arrow, but that this is soft point, right? This is not a full copper jacket with a more of a point on the tip. It looks like some kind of like a lead, like flatter surface. So for me, that would make it very clear that this is a soft point, regardless of what type of whatever else you want to say, Remington, etc. And so that's just my assessment of that. That's one photo. And Okay, here's just one more. And then again, I'm going to talk about Tim Pool and what he's sharing as well. Because again, there's a lot of things I don't agree with him on, but there are a lot of things that I do agree with him on. And regardless of that, like he's still a smart guy. And so it's not to take away from that. Oh, freaking rooters. See, they cover up it too, right? Okay, let's see here. Yeah, you can still see. Again, it's more of a flatter tip, which to me leads me to believe that it is not Full Metal Jacket. And even Full Metal Jacket can fragment depending on, again, the surface that it strikes. It's rarer, but it does happen. And so I understand where people, you know, they talk about hunting and stuff like that, where there's been exit wounds, blah, blah, blah. It's like blown heads off, etc. It depends on, again, the size of what is being fired at. And so I've even showed where even deer, for example, where they were killed by a hunting rifle 30-06 and no exit wound, etc. And I'll get into that from like the little report that I made and to give my reasonings why, but I just wanted to give you some visuals first just to explain why I'm coming to those conclusions. And I will say that there are people that say that everyone that works in government cannot be trusted. First of all, that's insulting to me as someone that like has worked in the government or for the government for over 25 years at this point. Oh my God. I'm almost at 25 years. I'm almost into my 26th year, even though like right now, obviously this is like, I do consider this to be work, but again, I want to get paid for it. And I won't take contracts again that take away from this work, right? So like small contracts here and there and stuff like that. It's not worth my time and the amount of logistics I'd have to do for my dogs and stuff like that. And so again, so there's a little bit of back and forth as to what I would actually do for contracts, and it needs to be worth it. It needs to be something where I don't feel like I'm selling my soul, which is another big thing. All right, which also is a point of contention because again, people in the networks that I've operated in, I've tried to reach out to people that were like really high up in the military, got out, incorporated all these things, and they do international work, especially with the government, and they have been incorrect on things. And I've given connections as to like where they're operating out of, like their companies, etc., including Tel Aviv, Jersey City, and Toronto, and they're being concerned with that, especially if they're in the intelligence network, cybersecurity, all these things. I'm like, well, you guys are actually getting propaganda from these areas, these locations, and you're in an echo chamber, unfortunately. And this was especially evident during COVID. And that is when, again, I was like first not doing videos and stuff like that. I was talking to people, networking. I was going on, like you name it, I was there. And I was getting completely, again, blacklisted. I was getting ghosted, reputational damage, all of these things targeted. And then again, obviously not asked to, again, even have sit down for meetings, let alone, again, have contracts, which is unfortunate. But I won't work for these people or suck up to these people and lie and be like, oh, you were right. You know, I'm sorry for what I said, blah, 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 or what I shared, medical, scientific, and government data. I'm sorry for sharing that stuff with you outside of your echo chamber and trying to, again, assist you to assist Canada and then possibly be hired by you because, again, it's mutually beneficial and it's also beneficial internationally as well, I would argue as well, if you're getting accurate information, right? The pen is mightier than the sword. Knowledge is power. Wisdom. All right. So it doesn't matter how strong you are, how tough you are, how much ammunition you have, how many weapons you have, etc. If you don't know the reality of what's going on in a situation, it does not matter. It does not matter. So facts are important. Truth is important. And that's why I keep on circling back to 9/11 and things of that nature where we absolutely have been lied to by government and their friends and family that work, you know, that are millionaires and even billionaires in some cases, and them again covering for crimes that they've committed where citizens have been killed, right? Innocent civilians have been killed. Hero types as well, people also in government. So again, a lot of blue on blue as well going on at the and it's just so frustrating. But there are people within government that are amazing heroes. They're legends. They're warriors. They've done so much within their communities, within Canada, internationally, within the U.S. And so for people to say that you can't trust anyone in government or that's working within government, for me, like that's just a non-starter. Like I don't know where to go with that because again, I was someone that was good at my job. I was very effective, etc. And I was working on behalf of my country. Right. And going to places too to try to help people out there. And again, naively, but again, because they were getting slaughtered and targeted for being women. right? And then the child marriages, all of these things, acid burn victims, dowries, female genital mutilation, not being able to be educated, having to be completely covered up, all these friggin' things, right? And yeah, and so you want to help with that, and then people also targeted for being homosexual, etc., despite the fact that there are a larger percentage of openly pederasts. This is gonna get taken off of YouTube for sure, but like, yeah, like where men are sleeping with little boys and they don't consider that to be an issue, and or with animals. And I'm not saying this as any kind of like controversy or anything like that. Like, these are things that I have either seen for myself or the people that did see it. I trust them, I believe them, and again, this is stuff that has like moral injuries have been sustained because of being exposed to it and witnessing things that have happened, that have been committed by people from other countries, even with amongst the people that have worked with us. I'm talking about Afghan National Army and Afghan National Police, etc., and our interpreters, etc. Not the same culturally, so many different things. And so, yeah, so legends, like even firefighters and things like that, like guys that have, and girls, but like mostly guys that have like risked their lives so many times. They've saved so many lives, and they do rescue in all terrain, right? And all weather conditions, right? So it's not just at homes, but it's in like the mountains, it's in remote areas like all over Canada that where people are doing these rescue missions or assisting with wildfires, all of these things. And again, wildfires also being created by government action and inaction in a lot of cases as well. And what's being sprayed and so many things. And it's going to get worse, by the way, with these data centers. There's going to be more wildfires when you dry up the friggin' land and the lakes and the rivers and stuff like that. You get drier trees, you get drier grass, drier everything. And again, that is much more flammable. Guys I know in the military, like warriors, legends, etc., risk their lives, like amputees, all of these things. Like, would I trust them if they were like on a witness stand internationally being televised, etc., etc.? Yeah, I would. And so it's hard for me. So the people that I'm listening to that are part of the preliminary hearings for Tyler Robinson, when I look at their backgrounds and their skill sets and how they're speaking, how professional they are, and then we review the reports and how thorough they were with like the evidence gathering, et cetera, to make sure there was due diligence and due process awarded, again, in this case, and there would be nothing overlooked. They did a really bang up job. Like even these like DNA analysts, etc., right? Not even a first responder type, but like really, really important, right? Like DNA analysts, like we really need those. And so for people to just completely dismiss people that have years of service and working on really hard cases and things like that, to just completely discredit that and dismiss this just because you don't want to believe the narrative, you know, I don't know. Like, I don't know how to deal with that. Like, let me know. Like, I don't know. And people, again, even now that I know that do work in government and they are, again, like all over the world or all over Canada, and they're working long hours, long shifts, tough jobs, and it's not easy. And these people struggle, right, with PTSD. They struggle with, again, the trauma of what they've been exposed to. They're really hard, stressful jobs, mentally, physically, spiritually, etc., right? And so even within my peer support network, like I do have a lot of people still serving and retired that do reach out and we talk, right? And it's heavy stuff, right? And so for people to just discredit that, and I don't know, especially if you haven't been of service, like to condemn people that have been in service or completely discredit them because of cherry-picked narratives that have been taken from the trials in order to just discredit them. Like, it's unfortunate. And people make mistakes and so much scrutiny that, yeah. And so I highly encourage people to talk to people, to look at the hearings, to look at all the evidence that's been collected, how it's been collected, and then see again what the defense is saying about it, like their issues with it, what the prosecution's issues are with it, what the media's issues are with it, what the judge's issues are with it, etc. And only introduce evidence at trial, again, that is required and necessary, and that was all compiled and submitted and put together, again, by people working in government or people working for the government on behalf of the government, but not technically public servant. I hope that makes sense. And I know, like, people want there to be more than what there is regarding Tyler Robinson being the one that shot Charlie. And but in this case, I don't think that's the case, but I'm going to reiterate though, I think that he was radicalized. I think that, like, again, especially in the few months leading up to the murder, I do think people need to focus on his networks, who he's communicating with, all of those things, and identify those people and look at financial transfers, all of those things as well. And because that's when Charlie Kirk started speaking more about Netanyahu and about the genocide happening in Gaza, etc., pushback on Iran, all of those things. And so it's just, again, the timeline too, when Lance Twiggs is saying that they didn't really talk about politics or any of these other things, but Tyler was definitely interested in these things, and he was having these conversations with people that he was driving to work with. Who are these people? How long? The who, what, when, where, why, how? The Discord chats with these leftist communities and groups. Who are these people? Why don't we know this? This is very important, right? And anyways, that's just my opinion on that. I'm going to get into my report, and we'll see what you guys have to say about that. But yeah, I know that Tyler Robinson shooting Charlie Kirk horrifically, I know that's not what people want to hear, especially if they've been believing what Candace Owens and Stu Peters and Jimmy Dore and Redacted, etc. Even Joe Rogan at points as well, questioning things. Like, I understand why it's disappointing that it's what it is, because people do want to believe in these people. But I'm going to reiterate, right? They have a lot of influence. They have a lot of people following them that see a lot of their content, and but they are not experts. They have very good guests on often. They have very good content often, but when it comes to this stuff, I do think that I don't know, and they're throwing people off so much that when people like myself do give what we believe to be like a fair analysis of an event, of a murder, we are the ones that are getting discredited. I'm getting discredited over almost 25 years, right? Reviewing all of this stuff. And I didn't even mention this but I should have, right? But I was even a use of force instructor, and I was the use of force person for 360 Secure. They've gone since COVID, at the very end of COVID, almost they lost their contracts, but with the LCBO, right? So this company went under, like a lot of companies did in the security industry during COVID, because people were too busy with other stuff that they thought were again, like, more of a priority, like having like restaurants open and things like that, instead of actually this stuff, like training the security guards for all the LCBOs in Ontario properly. So anyways, I was the use of force instructor for all of the guards, the security guards, security professionals, for all of the LCBOs in the province of Ontario, and all of them. Okay, and so a lot of this, I would even fly out or drive out to certain areas, again, in more remote areas, or someone else would on my behalf, and we would, again, do the training, not just use of force, but also, again, other training as well, theoretical, practical, etc. And then if there was ever any incidents, right, I also had to monitor incidents, like all of these different things, like daily, hourly, monthly, do reports, all of this stuff, assess them, give this to even law enforcement as well. Again, like it was a coordinated company, right? Like, we coordinated and communicated with multiple different agencies throughout, and where I was the one speaking on behalf of the company as the expert. And so whenever there were incidents where it involved a possible excessive use of force, that's where I would get involved, and I would be going directly to these LCBOs, and I would be looking at the footage and reviewing it and putting up a report and providing that to our head of security for the LCBO in Toronto, that again was a detective, all these things, and works with detectives, and then they go through and review what I provide. So there's like video, there's timestamps, there's all of these things, time, date, locations, etc. And then my assessment on if this was an excessive use of force or not, and then also having to be ready that I would have to go to court, right? I'm the one responsible for what training these security professionals get, all of these different things. And again, if there's issues with the training that I provided, that's also can be something where I'm held accountable for it, and rightfully so. And anyway, I'm going on all these tangents, but so again, even with just that alone, I did that for a few years. Very familiar with with surveillance, with footage, with all these things, doing up reports and things like that, and then also reviewing reports. So I even trained law enforcement and security professionals, etc., on report writing and note taking. Very important courses to take. And again, like, it's very extensive. And I have PowerPoints for this still on the shelves, essentially, where I can still go out, for example, and do contracts and teach this again, because like these are very important. And the use of force as well. There's reports that you have to file online. And again, it's given an incident number, all these things, and it's reviewed by law enforcement, etc. And so I'm going to reiterate, Stu Peters, Joe Rogan, Candace Owens, Jimmy Dore have never done that work. All right. And this is, again, what I'm saying after my military career, where I was an infantry officer for 15 years, deployed all these things, and worked in the special forces. And then even in the special forces, I got perfect scores on firearms and confirmed that, again, this is not a brag. And I do think it has to do with the fact that I had 20/10 vision verified. And again, we do get ocular degeneration as you age, but even now in my 40s, I still see significantly further than someone with perfect vision, 20/20 vision. And so through my military career and beyond, I was a better shot, and full disclosure, not because of anything else, well, because of other things as well, but because of I could see twice the distance of someone with perfect vision. I didn't even like saying that to people because again, I just thought that there would be judgment there. Like when I've said it to people before, they're like, oh, like they kind of get creeped out or weirded out. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, well, I'll just keep it to myself. But yeah, so 20/10 vision means that I can see literally twice the distance, like of an object or things than someone with perfect vision. And I do think that that's absolutely helped me again with my firearms training and stuff like that. And so I've done competitions, long distance, even with pistol, even at academy. And again, it was all men except for me. And even with like, again, EOTechs and all of these things, I had iron sight on my friggin' gun, my handgun. And I won't say which one it was because again, I don't want to get give too much information that I may not be able to give. But yeah, so you start I think at 5 meters, and then from there you keep on going back 5 meters. Everyone starts close to there were 8-inch plates, falling plates. And when you hit, they go down, and then you have to like make them come back up. Anyways, and so you use your both arms. Okay, so both arms to fire. If you miss, then you have the chance again where you can go strong arm, one arm or one hand, and try again. And if you miss again, it gets harder if you miss, right? So you always want to get at the first shot. And then your support arm or your weaker arm would be, or your weaker hand would be your last attempt. And if you don't get that, then you're out. Okay, so that's how it was. It's really fun. I love that game. And then so you keep on going back. So anyone that hits the target, they just wait for everyone else to finish. And then if for people missed, they leave the line, and then everyone else that made it, they keep on going back. And so it was me and like 2 other guys, and these guys were fucking snipers and shit like that as well. And I love these guys, and I still talk to a couple, like anyways. And it was a competition, and I was really competitive. And so like we were, I think it was beyond like maybe 30 meters, 35 meters. Again, that's really hard to hit an 8-inch plate at that distance, right? And so I don't care who you are, especially with an iron sight. And so like we made it and stuff like that. And so the limit of the range is basically where not even basically, it's where I had to stop. And we just wanted to see if I could make it at that distance, right? So I had already won, but I'm like, well, I want to go back more. I want to see. And so we had to go to the limit of the road. And I probably shouldn't say this. I don't know. It was safe, and we're safe and stuff like that. And I was firing down range, but I would get to the end, like the very limit that you possibly do, just to see if I can fucking see this hit it. And I got it first hit. I couldn't even believe it myself. And then because of that, they claimed that because I won, I get the award of buying like a case of beer for everyone. Like I'm like, oh wow, I'm so happy I won. But anyways, this is just to give some fun experience and stuff like that. I don't know, and where people can see like where I'm coming from. Not a journalist. Okay, so this is my report. Ammunition type, rifle chambering, and terminal ballistics, Charlie Kirk assassination, state of Utah versus Tyler Robinson, done up today. Independent analysis, I'm saying independent, so my analysis based on court records, ATF reports, which I've shared some things from even last year. Search warrants and expert identification. Purpose of this report consolidates the confirmed physical evidence regarding the rifle and ammunition recovered in the assassination of Charlie Kirk on September 10th, 2025. It resolves confusion about caliber, brand, bullet type, soft point versus full metal jacket, cartridge counts, and compatibility, so that the evidence can be accurately presented and understood. So we got rifle confirmation. The firearm recovered near the crime scene, wooded area adjacent to the Utah Valley University, is a Mauser Model 98 bolt-action rifle that originally was chambered in 8mm Mauser. It had been rebarreled and rechambered specifically for the 30-06 Springfield cartridge. This is established by prosecutors' formal identification of the weapon as a 30-06 caliber Mauser Model 98. ATF examination and reporting describing it as a 30-06 Springfield caliber rifle. Serial number 8863, referenced in court filings, just released. So again, anyway, I won't say that. So multiple contemporaneous official and media accounts. Contemporaneous would be like Utah authorities, etc. NBC News, New York Post, Fox News. Again, like to me, like mainstream media, they did release good information, but again, as a credible news outlet, most of it is a no. Okay, so anyways, they stated that the gun was converted to fire 30-06 rounds. Because the rifle is chambered for 30-06 Springfield, it requires 30-06 Springfield ammunition. A 308 Winchester cartridge will not properly chamber or headspace this rifle. Ammunition recovered at Tyler Robinson's residence. Search warrant returns from Robinson's home in St. George, Utah list the following relevant items. And again, we just felt like this was just more, or at least I think it was yesterday. Like yesterday afternoon. So I'm trying to stay on track here. But 2 boxes of Remington 30-06 cartridges. And it was Sergeant Famuina, by the way, that again broke this down if you want to refer to, again, her section of the afternoon where she spoke. Additional loose 30-06 cartridges, including a plastic bag containing 5 30-06 cartridges, 1 etched test shot, and further cartridges, right? And I think there's 9mm rounds that were photographed as well. So again, you could see this. You can go onto the live hearings, go to that area and see these images and these photos and these reports for yourself. Okay. And I encourage people to do that. So don't even take my word for things. Ammunition recovered with the rifle at the crime scene. So the Mauser rifle was found wrapped in a towel. Associated with it we got spent cartridge casing ×1. It was fired, recovered with rifle. Live unfired rounds, 3 unfired, still in the magazine. Total cartridges 4, all 4 bore engravings, Dremel type tool. And again, even yesterday, the discussion of the Dremel tool being used. This is to engrave. This is an engraving device. And Lance Twiggs had said during his recorded testimony interview that he is the one that had provided that to Tyler Robinson about a month prior to the murder. And he had said the claim from Tyler Robinson was that it was again just for like even the rounds and the stuff like that. That was because he was preparing for and planning for a hunting and camping trip with his family and friends. And is this a way that they are trying to make it where Lance Twiggs does not have any accountability in this? And he was given concessions, obviously, because of again willingly giving all of this information up, right, and being a someone that was compliant. Bullet type Remington core locked 30-06 soft point. The 3 live rounds recovered with a rifle and the corresponding spent projectiles that struck Charlie Kirk have been identified by ammunition experts, sellers, veterans, and court testimony as Remington core locked soft point ammunition in 30-06 Springfield. I don't know about court testimony yet that has said that it's a Remington core locked soft point, but please, if people have seen that, I could have missed it. I didn't hear that. But again, I still have to review more. I've just been putting it on level 3 speed almost, the whole thing, just to catch up. Anyways, this is not Full Metal Jacket, FMJ ammunition. Soft points are designed to expand and often fragment upon impact with tissue or bone. That design directly explains the recovery of a deformed copper jacket fragment plus multiple lead core fragments from the autopsy, the absence of an exit wound, energy dump and fragmentation inside the neck and chest cavity. So again, this can be updated more. Consistent with hunting ammunition behavior against hard anatomical structures, such as vertebrae, clavicle, etc. Remington manufactures separate core-locked soft point product lines for 30-06 Springfield and for 308 Winchester. They are not the same cartridge and are not interchangeable. There's different lengths. So the recovered ammunition is the 30-06 Springfield version. It's longer than the 308 version. Still from Remington. Still core locked. And can be bought literally any hunting or ammunition store in the US and Canada. Or most. Okay, so a photograph of one of the recovered cartridges, often labeled, okay, that's what I gave him, has circulated online. In that image, the tip appears fully copper and pointed, leading some observers to believe it's FMJ. So what I wanted to include in this report, and it's not really well explained because, again, I'm getting assistance from AI, is that some of the footage they released at the beginning, you didn't have the full image of the bullets, right? It was cut off at the end, which was so annoying. I'm like, because that is freaking like the most important thing that we need to see is the end of that freaking round to see again if it's full metal jacket or if it's soft point. And it's and so anyway, and so even when you were throwing those images into AI programs, it was saying FMJ, and I'm like, it's not fine. And so, but as soon as you show the clearer images of the full round, it says soft point. And again, it's very clear that it's soft point with like the better images that were taken and released. So again, that should put things to rest, but it won't. Yeah, this is not like the JFK assassination or any other assassination from the past. And you have to treat every single incident as separate, as unique, and you tackle it that way without any bias. And that, I think, it would be my recommendation, right? And so a lot of issues, again, with deep state and all these things that happened with the JFK assassination, 100%. And do I think that Tyler Robinson took the shot? No. Sorry, not Tyler Robinson. So Lee Harvey Oswald? I don't. And I've given my assessments on that. And again, with government people that I'm calling out as well, including the freaking vice president and CIA and the Dulles brothers and LBJ, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I hope that people don't think that I've changed or that someone has got to me. And now, again, I'm just reporting what mainstream is reporting. Well, in this case, they have no choice because there's just too much information that's been released. And I think that's, again, to try to mitigate these conspiracy theories because we still don't know what happened with the JFK assassination. And this is going to be studied for decades as well because of the influence that Charlie Kirk had around the world. And he was taken away much too soon by someone that was radicalized. And I don't think is going to see the light of day outside of a jail. And for what he's done to people and the family and his and Charlie Kirk's children, etc., this guy deserves jail. Minimum for life. And you could feel bad for him, for being radicalized, being brainwashed, being MK Ultra, whatever you want to call it. That's fair. But it's still, again, how many, this is why, people should be whistleblowing and speaking up more on how much of a threat this is and how interconnected these networks are of people, again, from the top that are manipulating us. Even with this, all the division that's going on, again, this is man-made. Using propaganda, all these different tactics. Okay, so soft point tips can appear jacketed under certain lighting angles or when the exposed lead is minimal or slightly obscured. The case dimensions, head stamp family, and expert consensus establish the identification as core locked 30-06 soft point. And I shared the picture with you before. I could share it again, but okay, so compatibility confirmation. It just gives the compatibility confirmation. The rifle requires 30-06 Springfield ammunition exclusively. Okay, so you have there a 308 Winchester core locked will not correctly fit or function in the recovered Mauser 98. The 308 case is substantially shorter, so 51.2 millimeters versus 63.3 for the 30-06. Similar to a 7.62. So relevance to the no exit wound argument. And if you look at my videos from last year, I even showed demonstrations with these ballistic gelatin head molds, getting shot at, etc., giving the disclaimers, even from the companies and experts, in the FBI and these agencies, and they will say the same thing if they're honest. Okay, so let's see here. Because the recovered ammunition is a soft point core lock design engineered to expand and fragment, the absence of an exit wound is not anomalous. Soft point projectiles are specifically intended to dump energy and remain inside the target when striking bone or dense tissue. The presence of a jacket and lead fragments inside Charlie Kirk's body is the expected forensic signature of this ammunition style after a neck-shoulder impact involving bone. And Charlie Kirk was 6'5". He was a huge guy. He was a foot taller than me and half a foot taller than the average man in the US. A foot taller than the average man in some other countries. Anyways, where I'm the average height of a male. Anyways, ballistic gelatin head molds that lack bone, vertebrae, tendons, and ligaments cannot accurately predict this outcome. And I know, and I shared as well, these ballistic gelatin head molds that do try to replicate, but they'll say as well, this cannot replicate, again, human bone, tendons, vertebrae, etc. You know, this is as close as we can get, you know what I mean? But it's not at all the same, and don't treat it as such. You can use it to compare calibers of firearms, etc. But again, it is limited in what it can provide. Okay, so real human cervical anatomy produces yaw, deflection, and fragmentation that homogeneous gel does not replicate. The physical evidence, soft point design, recovered fragments, no exit is internally consistent. So we've got summary of confirmed facts. Rifle, Mauser, Model 98, rebarreled, chambered to 30-06 Springfield. Home find 2 boxes of Remington 30-06 cartridges and loose rounds and more rounds of other calibers, for other weapons. Crime scene find 1 spent casing, 3 live rounds, all engraved. Bullet type, I'm thinking Remington core lock, soft point. Autopsy findings, deformed copper jacket and multiple lead fragments, no exit wound, and you could see those fragments at the hearings, the images. Okay, so 308 compatibility does not correctly chamber or function in this rifle. It's too short. Okay, so the recovered rifle is a Mauser Model 98, chambered for 30-06 Springfield. Ammunition recovered at Tyler's home, and with the rifle at the crime scene, again, I think soft point, a Remington core lock, 306. Okay, so 3 live rounds and spent casings were all engraved. You see that from the hearings yesterday. You see the engravings. Agent Famuina, she does discuss what engravings are on which bullets, etc. Soft point design accounts for the fragmentation observed at autopsy, lack of exit wound. Okay, so claims that the round must have been FMJ, or that a 308 Winchester cartridge was involved, or that a 30-06 soft point cannot produce a non-exiting wound are inconsistent with the physical evidence and expert identification. So for my disclaimer, this report is an independent compilation and analysis of publicly reported court records, ATF examination results, search warrant returns, official statements, and expert ammunition identification, and so much more than that, right? And so I've really looked into this. It is prepared for informational and evidentiary support purposes. It does not constitute official testimony, legal advice, or a substitute for court-admitted expert reports. All statements of fact are drawn from the sources referenced above as of today, July 10th, 2026. And as someone who loves conspiracies, I know that this is not a sexy one, and it sucks that it happened. And yeah, and I do think that the pushback and the discussions and the arguments that Charlie Kirk was having regarding Israel and Netanyahu and genocides and crimes against humanity and all of these things, I do think that that is, again, that started the pressure cooker. People needed to shut him up. And so there was just so much targeting against Charlie Kirk, and like there was so much hate on all over social media. Okay, so there's a lot to blame as well, and then of course exacerbated within these underground networks. So this is Tim Pool. This is not Tim Pool. This is a lie. That was the live day 4. I'm at 4 hours 51 minutes in. Freaking 8 hours 24 minutes for that video. It's going to take me forever. Okay. All right, so Tim Pool. And again, I want to see what he has to say. I'm not expecting that any of these people that he's going to have gun experts on. But he's a pretty smart guy for the most part, and I agree with a lot of what he shares, but I also don't agree with a lot of what he shares too. So let's see. Yeah. And this is just because I haven't shared really like what people are saying and claiming. And so I think he'll just give a good summary. Holy frig, but I'm not watching almost 3 hours of this though. There's no way.
Two pieces of information that seem, but there are people desperate on pushing fringe on boy.
Okay. Let's take it up 1.25 speed. I'll play it at 1.
New testimony from the boyfriend, lover of the alleged Charlie Kirk assassin. Images of the bullets, and they accidentally published the love letter or the confession letter, I guess. It's a pretty wild story, and it's sparking wild conspiracies, largely because, listen, let me just start by saying you're allowed to question official narratives whenever you want.
Of course.
We need positive evidence in order to pursue many of these conspiracy theories. We don't have strong alternate theories, but there are people desperate on pushing fringe, unhinged conspiracies. In fact, many of these people are intentionally lying. They're using a technique called assumptive manipulation or assumptive reasoning, where you provide two pieces of information that seem to fit together to trick the person listening into assuming they are part of the same story. A simple example would be like, if you shouted out something, you know, someone stole my wallet, and then immediately go, it's Ian. And then the assumption is, even though I never said he did it, you want people to assume he's the guy who did it. And I said, no, I was just pointing to Ian because he was standing there. This is the game they're playing, and I'm not having any of it. So we've got major viral posts. We've got Ben Shapiro, I guess, now being accused of orchestrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It's all fake, and it's largely because ad rates are low, political interest is at a low point, advertisers don't want to buy. So what are these people doing? Lying and grifting any way they can to make a quick buck. We're going to talk about that because that's the big news. Big news. Donald Trump switched planes. I don't know if you guys saw this. He didn't want to fly in that Qatari plane for some reason, which is very strange considering, you remember when we were like, the war's over, but you know, it's not over because it just keeps, yeah, great. I'm not having a good time. We'll talk about that and a lot more. Before we get into all that, my friends, we got a great sponsor for you. It is Backyard Butchers. My friends, Backyard.
Guys, let's get into it. I had to keep my mouth
got
shut in the pre-show.
Ian, he was like that meme of the guy with the vein bursting. He's like,
Yes.
All right, here we go. We got a bunch of stories. We're just going to rip through them, and so we can just get into the whole nitty gritty of this. Lance Twiggs reveals Tyler Robinson confessed to Charlie Kirk's murder after sneaking back to their love nest. So we're getting all of this testimony, and it's really doing not so good for these conspiratards, we call them. Take a look at this. Redacted letter from Tyler Robinson to trans lover accidentally shown in court, which it says, if you are reading, handwriting's better than mine, but still bad. If you are reading this per my text, then I am so sorry. I left the house this morning on a mission and set an auto text. I am likely dead or facing a lengthy prison sentence. I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and I took it. I don't know if I will/have succeeded, but I had hoped to make it home to you. I wish we could have lived in, and then I guess they weren't supposed to show that, which is crazy. We also have this, prosecutors reveal trans sex joke engraved on the bullets. We're learning that Lance Twiggs, the lover, was granted immunity for testifying. And it's bad news for the conspiracy theorists who now are, I guess, accusing Ben Shapiro. They're saying Ben Shapiro did it?
Like, there might be a conspiracy of people encouraging this guy to go do it. There might be an underground network. I don't know that I've seen any evidence of that yet, so I haven't allocated much brain power to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth noting that, like, look, all the evidence that we've seen points to Tyler. Everything that people say is some kind of contradictory evidence isn't actually evidence. It's they're saying this is weird or this is something that doesn't.
See, we're getting a lot of evidence as to who fired the shot, but we're not getting a lot of information as to who else could have possibly been involved, because this is not a lone shooter case. I mean, a lone shooter, sorry. It's not, he did not work alone. Mm-hmm. And I do think, again, that there were people within his network that had radicalized him. And was this grassroots, or were these people deliberately doing that? Or, yeah, and the rabbit hole, etc. And I will say that, like, not confused me, but I did question why Ben Shapiro was the one that got like a call right away from inside the vehicle, etc. But but now again, like obviously after like considering a lot and having these conversations with my family as well, because they were saying like, oh, it's a security detail, like they did and stuff like that. I'm like, no, they didn't. I've even shared like their accounts again of what happened, what they're sharing, etc. And I'm like, even Candace Owens, I'm like, I'm sure has utilized this, like people within Charlie Kirk's security team as well, because she was working with him, also doing Turning Point USA events in the past, okay, but also again utilizing the same security guards or professionals that she was shitting on and that she's been continuously shitting on. Like, these people have literally risked their lives to protect her and her family, and now she's turned on their back on them, and that's my assessment of that. And so within the security professional industry, because they're working for Turning Point USA, there's going to be times where there's different teams, again the same people that know each other very well, but again new add-ons and stuff like that as well, and people that they might not be, you know, as familiar with working with during certain events, right? But they're doing work for people like, again, all members of Turning Point USA, especially the more controversial ones when they travel and have these speaking events, etc. And you will have like I don't know what you would call it, like a call sign 0. You'll have like a command post where you would have people relaying information to the person that is like the head, the overall in charge of the Turning Point USA security detail. And I'm assuming or thinking that maybe there were like higher ups of the security detail that were present with Ben Shapiro, because again, he's a high profile podcaster. And again, really significant influence, right? And so, like, again, he would be someone that would have, again, like the more experienced, seasoned security details with him, you know, during certain periods. So I hope I'm making sense with that. So yeah, if this is like a contact wait out, and then they're engaging as soon as they can once they're off the X, the higher ups within like the security department, in order to get, again, information relayed and then direction moving forward as to what to friggin' do. Like maybe they didn't, again, I'm just making all these speculations, but it does make sense to me, again, because again, it's a huge company, I'm assuming. And yeah, and if you have, again, like the head of it, you would want to give that information to them as soon as possible, even if you don't have all the information yet. It's like a contact wait out, like a warning order, whatever. And then it's like, and then you carry on. And then once you have more information, you're going to do, again, more of a longer debrief.
It makes sense or what have you, but it's all conjecture and it's not actually any evidence.
You know what bothers me the most, though? The conspiracy theorists, again, like I'm a big fan of conspiracy theories. I think we learned the conspiracy theorists over the past several years trying to be right about everything, but I'm being hyperbolic. Obviously, some things were not true. In this instance, I think, by all means, you can ask any question, you can challenge any narrative. That's always fantastic. But you need positive evidence, right? Why did they not just come out and go, Robinson works for Israel? Like, you can have your Israel conspiracy theory and whatever you want, and then just say, he works for Israel, because then it fits. But to be like, no, he's a patsy, they put him on the roof. It's like, huh?
It's just
I don't. Do you realize who you booked today? I mean, I'm kind of on the board of conspiracy tards.
Oh, good.
So
yeah, but we like a lot of them.
But here's the deal.
Not please bring me down.
I don't know where we stand with this. So take me through this, because. So are we going with the official narrative? Because I've been following it since it happened, that Lance did it and acted alone.
Tyler Robinson.
Tyler. Excuse me.
No, I don't know. I don't believe that Tyler Robinson acted alone.
Okay, so going up the steps, as your man told me here,
we agree there.
The limp was because of the gun.
The explanation that they gave is that he's got the gun down his pant leg. Okay. And so he's limping because he can't bend his knee.
Is the official narrative that he did it alone?
I don't know, actually, because the FBI was investigating Discord chats, as well as there was a big story of trans individuals posting online, presuming foreknowledge of Charlie's assassination.
One shooter or not?
One shooter,
yes. Yeah. Okay, so that's the official narrative, correct?
Yep.
So just to be careful, acting alone is different from he pulled the trigger. He could have gotten help to get there. There were several vehicles in front of his house like the week prior. We don't know who was helping him plan this, if anybody. Mm-hmm. But for Charlie getting shot, it was, the story is Tyler Robinson on the roof, pulled out the gun, pulled the trigger, shot Charlie, and then fled.
Okay. So I saw some videos this week, but I don't know. It might have been fringe videos that were saying some of the evidence wasn't totally adding up.
What evidence?
I don't know. I don't remember the video, but
Well,
I just
then,
remember
yeah.
it didn't seem like it was a clean case. Am I wrong to say that?
So by all means, you can claim the deep state orchestrated this case and planted evidence, but as far as that goes, they did it airtight.
Yeah, this seems
so
really
the
clear.
evidence is like it's open and closed. You know.
Okay.
It's just a matter of were there people behind the scenes, and that all those if they were chatting on Discord, and they tried to delete it, dude, Discord can still get all that metadata and reproduce the chats and the texts, and the FBI's probably already got it.
So what was his?
And he's correct. And so they did subpoena the Discord chats from Discord, and they were released. And so even with that, I'm like, there's like, I want more information on that too. I totally get where he's coming from.
Reasoning for murdering him.
Because Charlie Kirk was a hateful man because he's a Christian that believed that things like the LGBT ideology was bad. He believed that trans people were not, I guess, kosher, if you want to call it. And he was spreading hate is what the argument was made. So,
yep.
Basically,
there you go.
He
well, I mean,
was saying it's like he's a Christian, so
you can get a little bit more complicated.
But didn't
than that.
he argue with everyone and give everyone when you talk to them?
And he won.
Yeah, he was
Didn't
a dick.
he talk with LGBTQ and different races?
He'd be a jerk. I mean, he'd be a prick sometimes, but not like intent. Like everyone's gonna be like, "Get out of my face! Get out of here!" And like, you'd be like, "Oh, okay, he was mad," but like, he's just a guy. He was just a guy, but he was doing God's work.
He was
he was
most
forging
effective
diplomacy.
Right cultural figure.
Yeah.
Turning Point was the most powerful political organization. It had overtaken the RNC. And, dare I say, Turning Point is, like we had two insurgencies. You had the Bernie Sanders insurgency in the Democratic Party, and you had the Trump insurgency. The DSA represents the left and populist insurgency in the Democratic Party, and Charlie Kirk represented the right, which was unstoppable. The machine state did not want that to be the case. So what we're seeing now, and I'm going to go ahead and say, every day I believe I'm more and more correct about this. Tucker Carlson referencing starting a third party. Okay, guys, like I've been talking about this for a long time. They want to go back to the era of the Obama-Romney style elections. They don't want insurgent populists. They want the left and the right to be controlled, opposition against each other. And I think that's where we're headed. I think that's the issue. And I think Charlie Kirk, he was the most. So if you're Tyler Robinson, we can look at it two ways. You can look at it from the conspiracy perspective, which is he was killed for some higher purpose, some nefarious purpose from some powerful organization. And that is Charlie is the leader of the right insurgency against the establishment. If you look at it from the more mainstream narrative of why would Tyler Robinson kill him, for literally the same reason, from a different perspective. Charlie was leading the quote unquote fascists. He was making Trump win.
No, look. I'm a conspiracy theorist on a lot of things. This one, I don't know what the truth is, but I'm listening to you guys because I've been following it since the assassination. But they were saying that it wasn't so clean cut, but you're saying it seems pretty clean cut.
I mean, the better argument for conspiracy is that it's an orgy of evidence.
Okay.
You're familiar with Minority Report?
Of course.
I'm not actually.
Colin Farrell walks it. So
pre-crime.
That I know, but I don't know the.
So the scene is. They go into a room.
You're committing a crime right now in your mind.
That's not orgy of evidence, though. So in Minority Report, it's Tom Cruise, and he gets there's a precognition that he's going to murder a man, and Tom Cruise is like, I would not do this. His child went missing years ago, and so when he gets to this, he finds the hotel, the apartment, or the hotel room where everything went down, and he's like, I need to know why this happened. And when he gets there, he finds all of these photos of his son, and then he sees a man standing there, and he's like about to cry, and then he's like, they were right. I am going to kill you, because he believes it's the man who kidnapped and murdered his son. But then he remembers what one of the precogs says or something, and then he doesn't do it. When the police come into the scene and see everything that happened, they're like, oh, this is why his character wants to murder the guy. And Colin Farrell, who's the independent outside detective, goes, no way, this is fake. It's an orgy of evidence. He's like, murder, like the pedophile who killed this kid is not going to scatter all the pictures for him to find. Like, this is a setup. So I would say if you want to get conspiratorial, the bigger conspiracy is not that there was exploding mics or a man hiding in the bushes. It's that The bullets got an engraving. There's a letter. He was on the roof. He had the gun. It lines up perfectly, except for Occam's razor. Yeah, it's a wackaloon lefty online Redditor guy with a trans girlfriend who hates Charlie. Charlie's leading the charge for the right populists. They say every day, kill Republicans and things like that. And so this dude decided to go and get violent. It's surprising to me that people have these conspiracies, considering we watched the left get violent nonstop for a decade, threatening to murder conservatives, and they've literally done it to like Aaron Danielson in Portland when a lefty with a BLM tattoo walked up and shot him twice in the chest for no reason. So then they're like, I don't believe this guy would do this. Like, what do you mean? It's been literally happening nonstop.
Right. And it is a correlation with like the Kennedy. I don't know why. I just think a lot about the Kennedy assassination.
Well, the Kennedy assassination has a lot of smoke around it.
Yeah, and it seems obvious the guy was yelling,
Are we
I'm a patsy.
Are we still believing the official narrative?
I don't.
Well, I interviewed Ron Paul, and he was like, the CIA did it. I asked RFK Jr.
Ron Paul said that?
Oh, yeah, and so did RFK. RFK
Live
Jr.
on TV. Yeah.
He said CIA.
Yeah.
Oh,
I asked RFK Jr., and he was like, yes. He didn't say, yeah, the CIA. He said, yeah, the CIA did it.
Some people think it was that Oswald was deeply connected to the communists and the Russians, and that Lyndon Johnson covered it up because he didn't want to go to war with Russia. So he's like, we just can't tell anybody any of this.
Look, I don't believe nothing, but listen, you guys are. But one of the things I did here, because I wasn't following it once this happened, the gun and how you get the gun, and he said it very simply before the show. He's like, listen, it's a two-piece gun. You put it together. It's not hard. He said it, and he's a Marine, so you know what I mean. And no, I listen to Marines. You know what I'm saying?
That gun in particular, it could be disassembly.
Two-piece.
That's the big thing for the normal.
It's just a stock and a barrel.
When I was
in action.
When I went to Arizona, and you know what these people do. Let me just say this because we're going to get into the other portion of the story. These evil scumbag, manipulative liars, is they know that it's very difficult for us to reveal security information as to who our personnel are, their training, the things they're doing, the things they're talking about, and they're exploiting that, the safety of us and our families, to try and get clicks and create conspiracies. And, you know, Clint Russell is doing that. Candace, of course, did that. Candace claimed my brother tried to murder me because she is an evil witch. But I will just say this. One of my security guys, the moment, like right after it happened, he was like, the moment I saw the video, I said 30-6. And this is a guy who is a SEAL team sniper. And he was like, oh, yeah. From like the angle and the sound, I was like, that's a 30-6, no doubt. And he was like, I wish my wife was recording me when I said it. That's how sure I was. And so I was like, oh, wow. And this was like a week or two after it happened. He was like, man. So this guy, a SEAL team sniper that works with us, was outright like, yep, that's what it is. I'm like, okay. Then I go online and there's a bunch of people being like, I'm a Marine instructor. I'm a, gunsmith or whatever. It's not possible. And I'm just like, they've already given up that argument. They used to argue it was impossible. Now they're arguing it's improbable. Now they're saying, well, it's really unlikely that therefore, and it's like, okay, just stop.
Arguing what's improbable?
That the argument they make is a 30-6 is so large it would have ripped through Charlie's neck.
But you're saying, but the gun has a soft, or the bullets were soft.
The bullets soft tip,
so they expand.
But and we don't know what the load of the cartridge was. It doesn't even matter. The point is,
he's right.
Is it possible? Yeah,
hunting rifle.
Like a guy wins the lottery. Do we go? That's not possible. There's no way he won. It's 1 in 600 million. How can he possibly do it? No, we go, oh, wow, someone won the lottery, right? So the conspiracy theorists have largely abandoned that argument and are now saying, they're like, well, it's just very unlikely, so that's why we don't believe it. It's like, oh, okay, well, unlikely is still possible. Thank you, and have a nice day.
Yeah, especially in war. Like, if something happens in a war, don't sit around thinking about how unlikely it is that the enemy was shelling you. Like, better take evasive action when the shells hit the ground.
And did this kid's father, am I wrong to say, did he turn him in?
Yep, family turned him in.
Robert O'Neill. Okay, so former U.S. Navy SEAL Robert O'Neill. Wait, am I on mute? No, okay, I'm not good. Okay, so former U.S. Navy SEAL Robert O'Neill is the commando who stepped forward to publicly claim he fired the fatal shot that killed Osama bin Laden during the 2011 raid in Abbottabad, Pakistan. He has extensively detailed the mission in interviews and memoirs. And again, I think that Osama bin Laden was a CIA plant. And so now that he like he's talked about like explosive mics and stuff like that, and I'm like, where you were a Navy SEAL and you're saying this? Like, it shocked me. And so now I have more trust in Tim Pool as a gun expert than a friggin' what was he? Former U.S. Navy SEAL who allegedly killed Osama bin Laden. Yeah. So now Tim Pool, never thought I'd see the day, to me is more credible than that guy. Unfortunately, but again, is it like that for everyone? No, it's not. I know incredible men and some women that do, again, operate in government, varying capacities, and they are incredible human beings. There are a lot of non-incredible human beings as well, especially now that we have more woke DEI, ESG hires in the last 10 years. It's been a bit of a shit show in all of our agencies. So RCMP, CSIS, again, we got all these leftist radicals or people in an echo chambers, like even with, again, the right with like the support for a genocide in the Middle East. Wrong. What was I going to show? I don't even know what I was going to show. Why did I stop this? Oh yeah, I was going to share maybe some of his clips. I'll find them first. I was going to share some of the clips from Robert O'Neill, what he has said regarding the Charlie Kirk murder.
He turned him in.
And was he also in the military or no?
I don't know.
Did he? Was he raised? Was there something? With
I don't know. But the family turned him in.
Who was like an ex-cop or something
So
like
he
that?
knew about guns.
Well, like, I don't know about that.
So we've got images of bullet fragmentation right here. Here's the bullet.
Ooh.
You can see that it is deformed.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
That's
so that
mostly
means
just
it
copper
blew
jacket
up.
too.
So my first
That was a
thought,
hollow point or a soft tip?
Soft tip.
soft tip, and it hit his spine, hit his vertebrae, and likely, tilted down and splattered or something. Yeah.
Bullets do weird things when they enter, like, a medium like flesh, right? Like they don't. If it's a full metal jacket, which means the copper jacket is all the way to the front, it has more of a chance of going all the way through. But a soft point is designed to deform. That picture that we just saw, basically you were looking at mostly copper. The lead is all gone into, got shredded and stuff. But there's a guy that was a Green Beret that got shot with a 7.62 by 54R, which is about the same size as a 30-06. It entered in the back of his shoulder, just above his plate, went down and came out his hip. Bullets do weird things. Bullets just do weird things when they hit bodies.
I want to jump to this next story, which is where the drama is all going. We have this clip from Ben Shapiro I want to play first and foremost. The story is that Ben is being accused of orchestrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And what we're going to hear next is, no, I never said that. But the insinuation is very clear when you claim Charlie was betrayed by Ben Shapiro, and that it's very strange that Charlie's security would be talking with Ben's security. But here's the clip first.
Where I was when all this was happening, I was in Los Angeles. I had sort of a breakfast/lunch meeting with somebody. And I got the news that Charlie had been shot, and my security was on the phone with Charlie's security because nobody knew what the hell was going on. Well, Charlie was still in the back of the car, and we were sort of getting updates along the way. At 2:40 p.m. So I remember where I was.
What did Ben just say? His security was getting updates from Charlie's security while he was still in the back of the car, getting updates along the way. What does that mean?
Sort of getting updates. Even.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Maybe they got a text from someone. A guy texted a guy.
What do you think that means?
His security was talking to Charlie's security. It seems like they were downloading as they were getting information.
How do you feel about it?
How do I feel about it? I would think that if their security,
as CEO, as chairman of the board of Conspiratards, do you think anything of it? Do you have any thoughts?
Okay, so I did find one, and then I'll go on his page, but here's something he was saying. I don't know when, but I don't want to put words in his mouth. So let's see what he says here. I'm just going to refresh it. And this is from Piers Morgan official from 40 weeks ago.
John. Yeah, even for someone, I mean, they throw the word sniper around almost as much as they throw the word hero around way too often. Anyone with a hunting rifle, a 30-06 like that, that's an easy shot, 200 yards. As a sniper, which I am, you pick which nostril you want and I'll put it in it. So that's easy. The issues, just for me, I mean, it was off right from the beginning for me. Do we not guard rooftops anymore? There's been assassination attempts all over the world. Right. Why aren't we looking at rooftops? And then when I was sent the video at the same message where they said Charlie Kirk was just shot. When I watched that horrific video, he was obviously dead before he hit the ground. But the questions immediately started to come to me. That was not an entry wound that we saw. We saw an exit wound. So where'd that bullet come from? You don't bleed like I've shot guys closer than the camera was. And an entry wound doesn't look like that. An exit wound does. Why? Why did his shirt move the way it did? When I've shot people, their shirts didn't move like that. And then the initial reaction was, well, he was obviously wearing body armor and it was deflection. One, no, he wasn't wearing body armor. And two, it doesn't deflect like that off of body armor. Why was his shirt moving from right to left? Why were people being interviewed saying, yeah, they came from my left to right, from his right to left, immediately shut down? And then did they tear the crime scene down immediately? They, just right off the bat, from seeing it, knowing he was dead, saying a lot of this is bad. Not even getting into the soliloquy of text messages that 22-year-olds don't send their trans lover. Well, so immediately, it's just the official story sounds like it needs to be investigated. But now, you know, the whole crime scene is gone. They paved over it. Nothing to see here. That's an easy.
Okay, so I want to see what else he's sharing here. I have the right guy. Well, that might be an old account. I did have him up. Okay, I'll still look for more, but that's from 40 weeks ago, so I thought I seen a new clip where he's talking about it possibly being a mic explosion, but I will look at that and I'll keep on with Tim Pool.
Thoughts? If you're in that world, it's a very close-knit world. So something crazy happened to a huge leader, and they go, "Dude, listen." They hear it, and they go, "If you know a guy on that detail, no, I don't think that's odd because
so here's what
you're getting inside information because that's what you talk to those people. It's like an NFL player hearing that someone was traded."
Right. Candace Owens posted breaking news. Ben Shapiro just confessed on his show that while Charlie was being transported to the hospital and bleeding out to death, his security was on the phone with Charlie's security receiving updates. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. Someone explained to me why during the minutes while Charlie was dying in the backseat of a car, Charlie's security team was providing updates to Ben's team rather than focusing entirely on saving Charlie Kirk's life and finding the killer.
That's retarded.
I will remind you that all that Brian Harpole, I'm going to pause real quick and just mention, who did security personally for Candace and she knows this. I won't get into finer details, but yep. Anyway, one of the security members who was in that and is suing her, by the way, was in the car at the hospital, is currently suing me and using Ben Shapiro's lawyer, who has sued me relentlessly on Ben's behalf for the last 3 years. Ben Shapiro hated Charlie. Everyone knew that. So why the hell was this demon receiving updates?
I would be suing Candace Owens as well if she wrote that about me. This is slander. This is defamation of character. All of the above. Like what? And so I believe in free speech. I've absolutely said that. And I do think that there should be further, again, investigations into other people that were involved in this. I do agree with that stuff. But some of the stuff that I'm going to reiterate that she's saying is crazy, right? And with zero proof. And again, this is stuff that it's getting people doxxed. It's causing, again, more risk to people's lives, more death threats, all of these things. And so it's just not helping at all, right? And so I don't know why we can't just move on to the other stuff, right? Everyone's so focused on Tyler Robinson and did he do it and all of this other fucking stuff. And they're so fixated on that and all these conspiracy theories regarding him and what happened that there's so much footage out about. There's just so much evidence, right? And so focused on that and like misreporting that, like they're not even looking at or focused on any of the other stuff that needs to be looked at. And more pressure on, again, these interviews and these interrogations and getting and us getting information again on these networks that Tyler Robinson was operating within. I would sue the hell out of her for this specific stuff. Because it is causing a lot, again, it's causing a lot of division, even people again targeting me because I'm not going against I'm sorry, because I'm going against Candace's narrative. Again, I'm seen as like I don't know, a fucking demon, you know? Like there are people, honestly, that treat Candace like they're part of a cult, and I think that's wild, right? And if you're a Christian and you're idolizing Candace Owens and you're here and you're listening to everything she has to say and believing it without doing your own research, not very Christian of you. That's the 10 Commandments, right? Idolizing false prophets and gods and things like that. She's not your God. She has a lot of good information, all right? And I wish no ill will on her at all. I just wish she would just friggin' stop being so friggin' crazy and stop getting people off target. I'm rambling on, but I want to share because I did comment on this yesterday. And so I even forgot because, again, sometimes I'm just in a zone. Okay, so this is from his site. So I said, he's clearly not an expert with this assessment. Bin Laden was a CIA op, by the way. 9/11 staged and planned by people like Silverstein, Bush, etc. I did my own analysis of the shooting, and it was clearly Tyler with a 30-06. I have just as much, likely more experience with firearms than him. Not a brag, zero ego here, just disappointed. 2023 showed us who cared about America versus international billionaire crime networks. And now the Charlie Kirk assassination has shown us who the real experts and influencers are. And so there's been 100% a lot of division happening. And again, it's by design. And so anyone that's sharing facts and data, not being well received. And that's even with COVID. I wasn't going off of any memes or YouTube videos or conspiracy theories. I was giving cold, hard facts, medical, scientific, government data. That is what I was focusing on. That is what I was sharing. That is what I was discussing. Right? The VAERS, like you name it, right? So anyone that wants to look at those, that's what I was sharing. 9/11. I'm not looking at memes or any of that stuff. I don't give a shit about the cartoons and the movies. I've shared it, very interesting and compelling, but I'm sharing information, again, from analysis, from cold, hard facts, right? The transportation of the debris and things like that. I'm looking at the structures. I'm shared to analysis, peer-reviewed engineering, scientific literature that has been created post 9/11, saying that it's impossible that these towers fell because of planes, etc. So much done, and I've shared actual experts in, again, engineering and various engineering departments, explosions, explosive experts, like heads of fire departments, law enforcement, high-ranking law enforcement, again, talking about this, talking about the multiple other explosions, all of these different things, and other connections. And again, also discussing training that was happening during that time. And when I say you need to look into that, like why were there training operations happening the same day that this happened? Again, this is to deflect and divert and distract and confuse people. And so they're not knowing whether they're responding to a training event or a real life event. And that is exactly what happened as well. And this is the deep state, again, that plans this shit. Just like the Northwoods stuff. Again, that was a Northwoods attempt, and it worked. And then we had people lying like Netanyahu about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and then Patriot Act increase in expenses, for our quality of lives, etc. Like more scrutiny, more security, especially for, like during travel, and they're the one that created it, like the Hegelian dialectic. They created the problem, and we are the ones that suffered for it, and now we're the ones that are still paying for it, exorbitant fees, right? And then lives lost. Again, 15 years I've deployed, etc. I've buried people overseas, ramp ceremonies, not burying them overseas, but ramp ceremonies, and then they're brought back to Canada and buried here, with a stop somewhere first, and then back, and then to suicides and things like that. Even recently, like this is a regular occurrence, especially people that were operating in the combat arms, or people again in other industries that have like moral injuries or again like a lot of trauma they've experienced or been exposed to. Right, even within law enforcement, fire departments, you name it, right? People that are exposed to traumatic events more regularly than the average person ever would in their lives. Let's see what he has to say.
That's why we had you on. You know about ballistics. You shot bin Laden. What bothers you the most about this investigation?
I'll show him more.
Thanks for having me, Rob, and good to see you, General Holt.
You too.
A lot of things it bothers me about this. Nothing in particular. It's not like I'm out there saying big lie or a conspiracy or someone did it. I'm just saying I've been in a lot of shootings. I've killed more than a handful of people, and this thing looked shady off the bat. I mean, I've killed people closer than I saw the camera, and I've never seen a shirt move like that. That looks like an explosion to me. Just the fact that no one started doing first aid to Charlie Kirk, they were more concerned about getting SIM cards out of cameras, removing cameras, and then getting him off the X somehow. There didn't seem a lot of concern.
Okay, so this is what I mean. Like he clearly hasn't seen the footage, so he's talking out of his ass now. He clearly didn't see the footage. If that's the conclusion he's come up with, and frame by frame, slow mo, all of these things
for his life, it seemed like just clean it up. And then I mean, I've been told they paved it over a couple days later.
You know what you're talking about. That's why we had you on. You know about ballistics. You shot bin Laden. What bothers you the most about this investigation?
And so that's another thing that is weird, the pavement thing. So I'm not even discrediting that. That is interesting, and that's something that they're alleging was planned in advance. Well, how long in advance, and who planned it, and why, right? And so we need to look at these things, because even with 9/11 and with the Freedom Convoy, all these other events, there were training exercises that were planned for, just so happens to be the same friggin' time that major events seem to happen, not by accident. Okay. And so there may have been, just by looking at that, I'm thinking, you know what, maybe we got to look more into this. I'm not making any claims here, but I'm saying we need to look more into this because that was very fast. And they're claiming that it did happen, like the planning for it in advance. So how far in advance? Right. And again, this is where I think that there's higher level planning that's going on before it gets to us miscreants or going, whatever you want to call us, right? The peasants, the peasant class. And so that we can fight amongst each other and take out, again, like people that would be speaking against their propaganda. Charlie Kirk, again, was starting to speak more on Israel and Netanyahu and funding and AIPAC and genocide and things like that, right? And as soon as he started, I'm not going to lie, things got worse for him. So this is what I mean. You got to take your focus off of what actually happened that day. There's so much information, like the day before, the day of, the day after, the months afterwards, all the evidence that have been collected, you know, and so we gotta focus. I know I'm being redundant. Anyway, and so there are some things I do agree with that need to be more investigated. Okay, so let's see what else they have to say here.
Dates in the mere minutes after Charlie was hit en route to the hospital. All caps. Who on Charlie's security?
Oh yeah, and the security did respond very quickly, in my opinion. And could they have done a perfect job? No one does. And could there have been chest compressions, etc.? Yeah, all right. And they were also trying to stop, you know, like the bleed and all of these other things, the transportation, like the coordination being done, like looking for other threats, all of these things going on at the same friggin' time. And I do think that they responded based on my experience, right? And the people that I've operated with, I think they did, you know, this is just my own observations. Again, working within these fields with people like that, I think they did as a good of a job as they could have, given the situation, right? And but I will also say that there should have been more people. There should have been drones. People should have had their shit wired tight when it came to. But again, these are all after action debriefs, right? Like what could you do better for the next time, right? And this has clearly been whitewashed, and people discussing this and like what they can do better. It's obviously happened. We see it from future events, but even with the UFC event, and then other things that they've had at dinners and stuff like that. With like anyway, and so I think that because of DEI training, or DEI hiring, and just like lack of proper training, and then again people being more lazy in these industries and all of these things, I've seen a decline. I have seen a decline, but again, I'm not talking about these guys, but I'm seeing like overall, collectively speaking, a major decline within these industries and with the people that are being hired and the qualifications they have and the drills they practice, etc. There's no rehearsals done. There's no reconnaissance being done in a lot of cases. There's no exchanging information in a lot of cases, you know, and it's just wild to me. Backup comms, like having like the proper ID, having American cash and Canadian cash on you, or having the cash from the countries you're operating within, or again, American cash if you need it. And again, there's even more, but so yeah, I've seen a lot worse. Dropping keys, not properly protecting the VIP, forget you. Anyways, a lot worse. This to me was friggin' pretty good.
Betrayed him in this way. Everything Ben did following the assassination made my alarm bells go off. I have told you guys that there is something about the Daily Wire and blah, blah, blah. We get it. What did Colvett mean when he told me it was supposed to be you? Nothing, because he probably never said that. That's a lie. Why did Turning Point betray Charlie so quickly? Why didn't Ben mention, by having Ben open Amfest? I clocked that Ben was too invested in this. Ben Shapiro is satanic. Everything in my soul tells me he worships Satan. Literally, look at his demeanor in this clip. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, let me answer these questions for you. It's very, very easy. The reason why I asked you what you thought about it first, because you didn't see what Candace had said, so hearing what Ben said. Our team also was being informed on what was going on with Charlie Kirk afterwards. And there's a bunch of reasons why. We're friends with Charlie and his team. So the people on our team who are like literally talk to Charlie's team all the time, immediately we're calling them. Our security company personally knows their security company. I could be wrong about this because I don't know exactly which companies they hire, but there's one big company that is security for all of the prominent right-wing personalities. And I forgot the name of this company, but someone came to me and they said, hey, this company that does, all these conservatives, they're asking if we want to, work with them because they'll do like a package rate. And I was like, we like our security guys. Like our security company we've worked with, and we like our guys. I'm not going to, like they're our friends. We hang out, we get dinner together. Like, it's not just like there's a guy hiding behind you in a suit. It's like, no, they're security. It's what they do. They got armor, they're strapped, they got medical capabilities. So immediately after these things are going on, everyone in the security world, particularly in this place, are getting updates. More importantly, Ben did not say that the 4 guys tending to Charlie stopped what they were doing and called me on the phone. This is the game that they are playing. It's called assumptive manipulation or assumptive reasoning. The goal is you provide, so look what she said. She called it confessing. That creates the insinuation that Ben is admitting to doing something wrong.
Yep.
I knew it is a manipulation to be like, something is going wrong. Charlie was betrayed. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys what likely happened.
So hard, I would sue.
After Charlie gets shot, there's probably 15 security guys. 4 of them picked up Charlie, brought him in the car. 1 was holding pressure on his neck. 1 of them, maybe not even in the car, relays information to their logistics team at HQ. Because you don't just have 4 guards and nothing else. Correct. Security companies have a headquarters with an office where people sit at desks and coordinate information, call hospitals, plan insurance payments, or reach out to insurance for payments.
Yeah, so for example, so even my, like the contract I did for Justin Trudeau and the head of the Toronto Raptors, et cetera, for a George Floyd event in Ottawa, of all things, and again, this was mid-2022, and if you look at my videos, I already knew the reality of shit that was going on and stuff like that, but again, I can be trusted, and I'm not crazy, so I can still work these. I don't do them anymore, but I could, and yeah, if there was anything that happened, I was relaying information to the director, and he was operating out of like well, this was an hour prior, like that was where the main office was, and so if there was any major issues, he would definitely be someone that I would be reporting information to. And so even with like the comms lockdowns and stuff like that, like I did share that with him, and the like I think it was a leader of Venezuela, one of those countries, but there was an assassination attempt literally within like 12 hours or so of us doing this event, and so. Yeah, so there is information that you want to report and then see, you know, if there's going to be like an increase in the threat assessment, if we're going to need more, like all of these things, right? And so like that piece is managed, like in the control building or whatever you want to call it. And if we need more assets, it would be up to my director, for example, like to assist, and then likely other people as well would be asking for more backup and more security measures, et cetera, because of an increase in the threat assessment. Right, so like law enforcement, parliamentary protective services, et cetera, would likely as well be on higher alert, given that.
So when this happens, one of the first things the immediate security does is tend to Charlie.
Oh yeah, they also told him that the friggin' guy that we were working with, this friggin' rich guy that was like a business owner, like multiple businesses, et cetera. But I'm like, he changed the fucking route. Like in the morning, and I'm just like, didn't even drive it or any of these things. Has no idea just how insane this is that you do this. And without any reason, just because like that's the route he decided he wanted to take, and all of these things, and without any cooperation with me or contact when I was the one that was going to be again in the vehicle and all of that stuff, like not even in the same vehicle with the VIP or with the primary. And it's like what are you anyway.
On the team who can't do anything else immediately call 911. They then call their logistics or get on their radio and say, Charlie's been hit, we're moving now.
So this is like the zero tolerance thing I want to talk about as well. So I have it right here. I don't mean to like call people out, but it's just, I'm just really sick of people, again, like literally just being so intolerant of my videos, despite the fact that I'm sharing what I believe to be the truth. And so I'm sharing what Tim Pool is saying. And I've said repeatedly throughout this that there are things that I absolutely do not agree with that he shares, and there are also things that I do agree with that he shares, right? And so I'm not throwing out the baby with the bathwater in this case, right? I'm not that intolerant, because if there's useful information I could get or talk about, then I'm going to do it. And so yeah, so starting with so absolutely zero credibility. And so given my resume, 25 plus years, I literally don't think that you have the same background or experience to say that I have zero credibility. And again, someone who's a veteran, who's deployed, except like all of these things, huge in the volunteer community, give to charities, thousands of dollars a fucking year, all of these things. Like, you are not going to be here and making me, like, again, like saying that I have absolutely zero credibility. It's just not even a fact, right? It's just very obviously like factually incorrect. And then bye-bye. I don't hate you, Don. I don't care if you do or not, to be perfectly honest with you, but I feel sorry for you. You feel sorry for me. Wow, right? And so again, these are the comments that I get consistently, despite the fact, again, that I'm an international security analyst. I am a senior at that. I do think I am an expert. And again, I have clowns that don't even fucking know me or what I've done that again are saying like, oh, I feel sorry for you. Well, you don't have to, right? I actually feel sorry for anyone that refuses to be open to someone that's actually analyzing things deriving my information from actual facts. And I will share people's videos as long as I want, because this is my channel. And I get to choose, and you don't have to watch. So goodbye. I don't care.
And they give updates via radio or phone. They leave the phone on and talk to their logistics team. The logistics of that security tells other guards who are on detail. If this company had other people, and Harpole has done this for Candace too, if there are other prominent conservatives with security, they are going to flag it to every single guard. Charlie Kirk's been hit. He took a bullet to the neck. He's currently stable in the back of the car on the way to the hospital. Be on high alert. Everybody with security companies worth their salt got that information. So why is Ben's security team talking to Charlie's security team? One, it may have actually been the same.
These are conversations I would, have on Signal, even though it's like not secure. It's more secure than, again, just like an open conversation.
Company, meaning his team is in reference to the guards that he has who got updates from the logistics of their own company telling them, hey, Ben could be in danger. Someone just got Charlie. I'd be willing to bet, I don't know what Ben's talked about this, but I'd be willing to bet security was like, get inside now.
Of course.
So our team is a private company that we're not using any of the big guys, but our company are friends with all of these guys and direct communication with them. And I will stress this, the reason why I know that Brian Harpole provided security to Candace is because our security company knows all those guys. Yep. There's very few people in security. It's a small world.
It is a very small world.
3 comments.
Yes.
Even Dr. Jordan Peterson's security team, like, again, I know these people personally. I've worked with them. I've hired them on contracts. We've done authority to carry courses together. We've taught it to others. I've hired them on contracts for my SRDTs. The standing rapid deployment team courses, et cetera. Yeah, it's this very small group of individuals, very highly trained, and they can work multiple different jobs, right? So not even just security. And so that's, and again, they can also be used, again, for other events, other people with that as well, right?
Hey.
There's a lot of overlap.
Let's go. As a lay person, I was literally eating my eggs.
Jamie.
I saw the horrific video and my phone literally blew up as it was opening, just by people going, did you see this? Did you see this? Okay. That's just number one.
Yeah.
Number two is, if I was shooting something at Universal and there was some type of incident, I do 100% agree. Warner Brothers would get a call. Paramount would get a call. Sony, there's some crazy shit over here at Universal. Just be on alert. Yep. Netflix would get a call. Every studio would get a call. That's just
and it would be a specific call.
Yes.
So if you took let's say a crazy guy ran up and whacked you with a club, they would say a man looking to be in his 30s wearing a trench coat just hit Jamie with a club in the back of the head. Look out because they're trying to tell them what to protect for.
Yeah. So it's a small system. So that doesn't seem odd to me at all. It's a small world security, and of many things, like an event, whatever. Let's go though. I just remembered something, dude. Tell me about the old man
who yelled out, "I did it."
What was that? That is, I'm not trying to be conspiracy. I'm not saying anything. I'm just, what
You're
was
allowed
that?
to ask.
That's weird as fuck.
So apparently that guy was a pedo or something. That's what was posted on the internet. I'll be very careful about allegations that are not confirmed. But he had some weird charge, was banned from the he got arrested for having images of underage kids from his phone.
Mm-hmm.
He had been banned from the property for making bomb threats. They've alleged, I guess, and he was an anti-Kirk guy. The argument is that he did that to help the killer escape.
Okay, he was okay. So
it diverted attention from security.
Okay,
and people were telling you after it happened, like personalities, like some dude in the crowd jumped up and shot him and then screamed, "I did it."
Not to push back or anything. Let's go back here. So you heard the term crisis actors.
Yes.
Do you believe those are true?
Yes.
100, 20%,
62.
62%.
Yeah.
There is video, could be AI, and pictures of that guy at other weird events.
Because I'll put it like this. I don't like the term crisis actor because I believe that's a red herring intended to manipulate what's actually going on.
I forget the guy's name. I've done videos on that guy and his background, but he was an activist. Like since that freaking 80s or 90s, this guy had gone to multiple different events. He was known in this community, etc. Also for being crazy. And so was he like paid? Like, I don't think so. But I definitely think that he was some kind of like a radical activist. Multiple events over the years, and these are all like recorded, right? And so there's times where he's been arrested for it, charged, etc. or again, like it's part of his rap sheet. And this was also provided. But they're absolutely crisis actors and role players. I've used them. And I would never use them to mislead the public, though. And that is something that was done during January 6th, during the freedom convoys, during even like border protest, like all of these different protests, etc. There are absolutely role players and crisis actors and agitators and instigators that are within the government or that are operating for the government. And whoever within the government, again, is giving them these scripts, or that they're just doing on their own, because they have the power, the ability to have that top cover, etc. If they become exposed, they can just make excuses.
What people will do is they'll find images of people who look similar and then claim they're the same person.
True.
The goal of which I believe is to stop actual populist investigation. So if you have 100,000 people interested in digging into what happened with Charlie Kirk, and you don't want them to find out, you got to throw red herrings out there. Yeah. So they all run the wrong direction. That's why I'm careful on. So there are individuals who are like, we've seen this before, where law enforcement or some kind of agitator shows up to a protest and starts fights and violence intentionally, and we don't know who they are, where they come from. They may be left, they may be right, they may be government, they may be CIA. We don't know. But there's a video, I think during the BLM riots, where there's like a protest in the street, and a guy in all black walks up out of nowhere with a hammer, starts smashing windows, and then just leaves. And it's like, okay, that dude's not a protester. So what is that? So and that's not a crisis actor. So what is this? What are these like fake people?
Look, you're saying if something real is happening and they want to.
Crisis actors would be more like what I've shared with like with border. When they were talking about like the immigration at the border and stuff like that, it's definitely a friggin' mess. But sometimes they were like how they were televising it, it was disingenuous, and there were crisis actors, so people that were paid actors, civilians, to be part of, again, pushing like a narrative and things like that. And so I've shared where you see it where they're really well dressed and all these things, and again they're being bussed out in cases as well. They're being transported to different locations. So people, again, that are civilians and stuff like that. Like not illegal immigrants in a lot of cases as well, and they're being bussed or transported to areas, again, where they can be filmed, and they're dramatizing things and making it look like it's real, right? And so there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. And then more for crisis actors, it would be, again, like even in Ukraine, for example, when you had like these women and one of them was pregnant and stuff like that, and like they claim that she died, but then she is, again, a crisis actor that has done other work. She was also identified, and then picking up rubble. Right, you see it where this is clearly again like a mock area, right? And so like the rocks being super light, and then even being markings on the rocks to like share like where on the stage they're going to be located and things like that. Just like with the moon landing footage and stuff like that we had shared, and how it was faked and recorded by anyway. And so things like that, right? Agitators and plants and things like that. Instigators would be types like Ray Epps. All right. And or like the people that I had saw that were actually breaking glass to get people to enter the Capitol and things like that. These and they have been identified as well. Or people arresting people and then letting them go. All right. And then the thumbs up are showing their badges. Right. So again, like scenarios being played out. Right. Those are not crisis actors. Right. So like law enforcement doing this, or CIA or int assets, things like that. That would not be a crisis actor, if that makes any sense. So like crisis actors are civilians that are hired by government or other in order to play their roles, their acting roles, whether it be in war, whether it be civil war, or like world war, or you name it, or protests, border crossings, casualties from explosions.
They put some stuff in there, chaos, to keep everything crazy.
You want people to go in the wrong direction.
And if other people like influencers put some chaos in there, they'll happily use that chaos and make sure you look the other way too.
I don't think it's weird.
And we also hired actors to assist us with our training as well. Even when I was in the military, for us, part of our like more elaborate training and ranges and things like that for deployments. And so we hired actors out of the US, huge company, And there were people that were even veterans, etc., and people that had real amputations and things like that, injuries sustained from war or other, and or born with these certain dismemberments and things like that, and utilized for scenarios for us to train. And so part of market area scenarios, for example, it would be where there'd be like a vehicle explosion, like a vehicle-borne IED, improvised explosive device, and we would try to make that as realistic as possible, like real vehicles. Again, obviously cheap ones from a junkyard or something like that. And then we'd have like the simulation rounds and stuff like that, and the smoke, and then even like these things that we would use to make it smell like burning flesh and dead bodies and things like that. Again, just to like simulate what you'd be experiencing like in a real environment. And they were even like they didn't want us to even have our bolts in our friggin' in our rifles and things like that. It's like, oh my god, because again they'd be working with us for these scenarios, and they were really good. And again, but they were given scripts and stuff like that, and they were training us, pretending that they were again locals or Afghan National Army, ANP, etc., working with us. Yeah, to expose us to those types of scenarios that we'd be operating with overseas. Those were crisis actors. And they would not be used, or should never be used or hired, in order to dupe real people and being aired publicly and live over media, and then being used by government in order to lie to us and deceive us. Because I've also hired crisis actors and role players to train government, but they sign non-disclosures, and I make sure that I look at all of their accounts, that there's nothing released at all, and because I wouldn't want to mislead people within like the area, right? Like thinking that this is something that's real. What I was using prisons, I was using hospitals, I was using airports, I was using military bases, etc. And in the areas that we were doing these scenarios in, again, we have to make sure that people aren't believing it.
That all the security teams would talk, because you also have security. She has security. Everyone has security. And in this world,
there's not a whole lot that I can say, because so that his team was on the phone with the guys in the car. So when he says they should have been working tirelessly to save his life, the purpose of that sentence is to, in your mind, create an image of Charlie's security team in the car not rendering aid, and instead calling Ben Shapiro, which no one said. He wants you to assume that Shapiro was not Charlie Kirk's friend. I mean, that's just absolutely not true. I'm not going to pretend the guys play. I say Charlie Kirk and I were friends. We didn't play pool together or anything like that.
So even with Ben Shapiro, I've called his stuff out, and I don't agree with like a lot of what he shares, especially since 2023. And even with the images that he shared, saying that this was like allegedly burned babies and things like that, that was AI generated, etc. He has millions of viewers, and again, even that in itself, I was like, wow, like, and he doubles down on all this stuff as well. But again, he is a smart guy, but again, he is not for the West first. He's not for America first, and he's definitely not for Christians first. In Western countries that were built off of Christianity and Christian law. Okay, so day 4, Tyler Robinson. I did do a lot of notes, and so they're just kind of like going away. Like I don't know why they're talking too much about security stuff, and I've already done a lot of videos on that. Okay, so day 4, Tyler Robinson. Twiggs counsel made no objections to portions of the video that the defense objects to, so they don't. Okay, so anyways, I already talked about that a little bit. Yeah, and so and you get to see a redacted version of that interview that Twiggs had in April of 2026. So the 20th of April of 2026, and it's the defense that didn't want a lot of this information released, especially that initial interview that happened on the 12th of September of 2025. Sorry. So Lance Twiggs was first called in, I'll reiterate, and had an interview on the 12th of September, 2025. Okay, so Rideau case was cited, and again, really good conversations and debates by defense and prosecution, but more from the prosecution. And then again, eventually we did get to see, again, like parts of the interview with Lance Twiggs, who was involved, who was there, and the person on scene, Sergeant Davis. He had been observing the interview from a screen in the same building for that, so he can confirm, again, the accuracy of that, what was being shown, and that is something that will be submitted for evidence. We saw text messages between Robinson and what they're calling a witness. that the state attributes to Mr. Robinson. So the confirmed phone numbers were Tyler Robinson. So not only from Lance Twiggs verifying that the contact number they had for Tyler, and again, it said Tyler on his phone. Not only did Lance Twiggs confirm that was Tyler Robinson's number, but they also subpoenaed the phone company to confirm also that that was Tyler Robinson's phone number. So very thorough and multiple avenues to of processes done in order to ensure that no one can say that there's no accuracy to the evidence that's being proposed. Okay, a lot of objections from the defense, and I totally understand why. But again, it was a stretch, and it's because again there's just a lot again of information being released that we've already seen as well, right? And so that was the argument as well, with information already being leaked or released to the public, and so a lot of this not being a surprise to many. And yeah, so written communication outside of custody. And so the argument for the Rideau case from the defense was that it would be like undue prejudice, all these things, and that the Rideau case, they cited it was the suspect that there was a forced confession and leading questions, right? So everything about that case, what law enforcement did, etc., was very unprofessional. And then what they did was they took that interrogation that was, again, not professional, leading questions, all of these things you should not be doing as an interrogator was done, very obviously done. That was released by law enforcement to the media directly, right? And then they released it publicly, televised everywhere. And the issue was that the suspect, again, with that those confessions being made, and again in custody of law enforcement, people, again, that's really convincing, right? So how are you going to be able to sway a jury pool when that information was released publicly and televised? And he was going to have his hearing, his trial. He did actually had his trial in the community where this information was released, right? And so very likely that the impact to the jury pool would have been there, and they're trying to argue that for this case. And the argument by defense was that again, Lance Twiggs was not, and Tyler Robinson, the conversations they were having before, during, and after the murder, these were not forced. There was no state or government involvement in their conversations that would, pressure them into saying things they wouldn't otherwise necessarily say, or confess to things that they didn't do. Right? It's not the same case, and I thought that was a strong argument, and so very interesting. Okay, so, but again, still a lot of redactions. Okay, court back in session, and then they started with Miss Hunt, agent called as a witness, and that's where, again, we're discussing Lance Twiggs, the meeting, all of these things. I gave a description of what Lance was wearing, all of these things, but it's kind of irrelevant, and I highly recommend people, again, take a look at the day 4, because you get a lot of information regarding Lance Twiggs, what he sounds like, what he looks like, what he says, what he's sharing, all of these things, and you'll possibly get a different interpretation of him, even just a little bit, than what you would assume based on what we know of him. So he has like a deep masculine voice. Like he has like, he looks like a Hanson brother almost, but with darker hair, like shoulder width length, split at the top, in the middle. Yeah, he's wearing a suit and tie, obviously to look professional for court, but yeah, wearing glasses. And he had met Tyler Robinson in 2023. At first, as roommates, they had conversated before or knew of each other because of their friend and family networks, or at least their friend networks. And then after 3 to 4 months of living together, they became romantically involved, and that's 2023. And then they talk about what they were doing for work during and leading up to the murder. So like what they were doing for work prior to the 10th of September 2025. And so if you want to listen to that stuff, you can. And then you see messages about the group chat, some redacted. Messages that were sent to Lance was on the first messages to Lance were on the evening of the 10th, so around 11 p.m. from what I'm gathering from the notes I took. And yeah, and then Lance is talking about that Tyler was saying that he was planning to go hunting with his family, and that's what he wanted the dribble for whatever reason afterwards, as part of that hunting and camping trip. planning that for a couple of months. Very interesting there. And then the Dremel was given by Lance about a month, he says, leading up to, again, the assassination. Talks about the note that was left under the keyboard that was burnt. Again, that's shown as evidence as well. And it shows the text messages where Tyler Robinson asks Lance Twiggs to look under the keyboard on the desk. And then he does, and it's like a what, all these exclamation marks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then Tyler Robinson immediately says all caps locks, like fuck, I tried to delete, I tried to delete that, or whatever it was. I think it was that. And again, is that a way of like covering for Lance, and that again this was a pre-agreed upon text conversation they were going to have, et cetera, et cetera? I don't know. I don't know. We need more evidence of that, unfortunately. I'm only trying to go off of what we have, right? And then if it looks off, etc., then anyway. Yeah, so not night. So server with friend, he was mentioning Discord, Dungeons and Dragons. I guess Tyler Robinson was playing Dungeons and Dragons with people as well. Like, they were talking about video games he was playing. We had a Judd Barnaby here. DM 8 p.m. last messages on the 11th of September on Discord, and before he turned himself in. Okay, so the last or first, but the conversations that Tyler Robinson had on the Discord page, 8 p.m. was the last on the 11th of September, and that seems to be about an hour before he turned himself in. Yeah, shortly after 9 p.m. he turned himself in with his family, his mother and his father, and their family friend Mike Mitchell. Anyway. Okay, so Lance sees Tyler on the 11th. Okay, so the morning of, and they talk, etc. And this is where there's another confession, and that he cries a little bit, and he regrets doing it, etc. And then he leaves, and Lance leaves as well, because again, if they're going to have their house swatted or whatever, again, like Lance said that he did not want to be there as part of that, and because again, it could have been a hard knock approach because he just murdered someone. I'm talking about Tyler here. Okay, more talking about confessions. Yeah, wishes he hadn't done it. And then he was saying that morning, because my immediate thing was like, why didn't Lance call the police, right? And I'm like, you know, you love him and all of these things, and you guys are young men and stuff like that, romantically, you know, charged, all of these things, but like why wouldn't you call law enforcement, right? That to me, like immediately, right? And so like, was he waiting? And again, he's not part of the preliminary hearings, and so like maybe he will be part of the trial. I don't know. There was some kind of agreement for him to again be a willing witness and share all the information. So because of that, again, I don't know what's going to happen with that yet, but I'll figure it out. But okay, so so he said he was going to eventually talk to his parents and turn himself in. So if Lance Twiggs was thinking that he was going to do it anyways, and so he didn't want to do it before he had the chance to do it, because it might be easier that way, then maybe I can understand that, right? Okay, so, but again, still a crime. Did Lance see the IG link on group chat of Tyler? Okay, so there was some kind of a link sent to Lance after Tyler had became a person of interest. There was like photos that were released by law enforcement out in the public, because again, they were still looking for a suspect. And I guess that would be the link, because they didn't share it, that would be the link again, that where they're sharing what was released to the public, and that being Tyler Robinson. And some of those photos, not all, that were released to the public, Lance did confirm that they were Tyler, and in some, again, because of the grain and the quality of the images, he was not able to. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so he's saying that they had never talked about Charlie Kirk. And I'm hoping, and again, I like, this is what's frustrating, is like law enforcement would have access to all of his messages, all of his communication, at least from his phone, and even deleted messages in a lot of cases as well. And so they didn't find it on his phone. Like maybe these are conversations, again, they had, again, in person. Again, they lived with each other, right? So like like if you're talking to someone every single day, like how much are you actually messaging them on your phone? I don't know. So I don't buy that I don't buy that they never talked about Charlie Kirk ever. I don't believe that. And yeah, so I think that he should be cross-examined 100%. I think that he should be cross-examined, and whatever deal they did, if that prevented that from happening, again, that is something that makes me question the prosecution, because you're focusing just on Tyler and it's not just him. Yeah, they took photos of screenshots or photos of messages from Lance's phone, all of these things. Shared some of that. Yeah, so they use a company called Celebrate, used by law enforcement to collect data, phone extractions, and SEAC analysts spoken to personally by Agent Davis for everything that they're discussing for the data collection. Agent Davis was a part of that. Okay, I'm trying to just blast through notes here because I do have to go, and it's already over 2 hours. Okay, so they talk about the county. Yeah, victim targeting enhancement due to religion and politics. That was debated, but still in evidence. Just want to get into what they found. Okay. Shoe impressions found on rooftop collected, latent fingerprints and palm prints found. They discuss, again, confirmed distance from the shot that was taken to be approximately 127 meters. Sergeant Fumina witness called back after lunch, discusses protocols for security of the rooftop. She was part of that, and how it was marked off, sketches, videos, photos, markings, IDing objects, prep for transport, all that stuff that gets talked about, and so many other things as well from other areas where they were able to collect DNA for sample analysis. She talked about a lot of information here. The bushes where the towel and the rifle were found. Put rifle on the cardboard box, photographed, rendered gun safe on scene. And they also had a photo with the towel on the cardboard box with the firearm to show the connection that is what the firearm was wrapped in. And again, there's DNA on all of that. Talks about engravings, shows all the bullets, what markings are on the engravings. Talks about ammo that was collected. 30-6 rounds and cases found, Dremel tool found, 2 Remington boxes, long guns, rifles, revolver, and burnt paper from that letter. 2 pairs of shoes, Converse, gray, white shoelaces, and the other one with gray shoelaces, I believe, size 10.5. Again, just like there's just so much being shown, right? To paint the picture here. Yeah, so the exhibit 23, I believe, is the engravings, the ammo. Okay. Yeah, saying things like, if you read this, you are gay, LMAO, ciao bella ciao. Okay, and more. And so I think that's like the summary for day 4. And I do need to get to the gym and Home Depot for so many different projects I need to do around the yard. And so I do got to get to work. It was raining all day yesterday. It was crazy. So I didn't get to any of that stuff yesterday. So on that note, I will leave it at that. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of